put even more pressure on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It is FAI Cup final weekend though, and we are going to be chatting, I presume, a lot about that over the next couple of hours. Dan McDonnell, football correspondent for the Irish Independent, alongside me as always, as is Johnny Ward. How are we doing, guys?
Good. Can't complain.
Hopefully the weather isn't like this tomorrow. That's the main
I associate this. Whoa, a couple of flashes of lights there. I associate this weather with FAI Cup final 100%.
Well, it's been very cold.
I know it's November and all that, but it seems to be especially miserable.
I know Con Murphy put up a tweet earlier on saying that it looks like it's going to be kind of bright and cool tomorrow, but the weather right now in 24 hours time would do nothing for the attendance. And I remember when Dundalk played Legia Warsaw in the Aviva Stadium, and there was such expectation because they were going to get to the Champions League if they qualified, and it was one of the worst nights of weather I've ever been at a game, and it really spoiled it. But hopefully it's not like this tomorrow, because it wouldn't really help the game either. It's raining so much out there now, it would be pretty heavy. And I know Finn Park last night wasn't supposed to be in great nick.
Nothing like that.
No, but
I think actually the rain now
it'll help for tomorrow.
It'll help tomorrow.
Yeah, but let's hope it's not like this anyway.
This won't bother the players. It'll, the conditions are more so an issue for fans, because it can be a pretty cold place to leave it. But I see that they're claiming that the premium section is sold out. So now that's because season ticket holders have the option to take tickets for there if they applied for it. Now, kind of hope it's not like the women's match and the 21s game in Tala last month, where people took the tickets but then actually just don't show up because there's no cost to them for not doing so. But they have the option to watch from behind the screen if needs be. But no, it can be a cold venue. But really. Shouldn't stop people.
It's going to be about 11. Yeah, it shouldn't stop people going to the game.
What do you think we're looking at tomorrow?
Literally fair weather fans. That is what it is. If you have a floating vote and you've things that you might want to do tomorrow, if it entails getting the night of the Dundalk Legia Warsaw game, you would have been absolutely soaked by the time you got to the ground, even if you were covered at the game. So I'm looking at it here. It's going to be 11 degrees. It's not going to be cold, but there is suspicion.
The Dundalk Legia game, there was actually a massive walk-up crowd because the top tiers were very full, which was reflective actually of the fact that there was. In terms of I think the FAI would trying to predict something around 32,000 earlier in the week, which is probably below what they really should be hitting. I think they're now claiming there's 40,000 tickets have been distributed. But as I said, there's a distinction between distributing and actually turning up, which, to be honest, is a problem for Irish senior internationals at the venue, not just the FAI Cup final. But there's been a fair bit of obviously publicity and stuff building up to it, and the Premier League isn't great tomorrow. So you would hope people around Dublin who are somewhat curious would go up.
Premier League is great tomorrow. Couple of great games on Off the Ball.
The Premier League isn't great tomorrow anyway, to be fair.
Premier League tomorroro.
No, we're not complete shills here, to be honest. No chance. No, by all means.
Look, you can
I for one welcome our new
stick
the earpiece in. You don't want people. If people are going to stay at home and watch it on telly, they're probably not going to be listening to it on Off the Ball now, to be fair. As much as you can turn it down and you can listen to the commentators. So let's be honest, you want to, on the walk to the ground, half time or whatever it might be.
Exactly,
pop it in the ear. Yeah.
53106 for your text messages. Anything you want to tell us, your predictions for this weekend and the Cup finals tomorrow afternoon. We are streaming as well across all of our social channels, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook as well. So you can catch us on all our social channels as well for a comment. At Off the Ball is where you'll get us on Twitter as well. Damien Delaney is also with us on Skype this afternoon. Damien, how are you?
Good, lads, good.
Are you up?
Good, yeah.
All good, yeah.
Are you up to Dublin tomorrow for the match, Damien?
No, I was going to go up tomorrow, but I'm above it yourselves on Tuesday, Wednesday anyway, so I thought 4 days in Dublin might be a bit much. But because I'm up for that thing in Dundalk tomorrow, Monday night, so hopefully Dundalk will win and it'll be a good night up there.
Yeah, and as a former Cork City player, I'm sure you'll be more than welcome up in Dundalk if they are celebrating.
Yeah, definitely. I was listening there talking about the attendances. I really do hope there's a good attendance there tomorrow. Because for years everyone has always been saying that attendances with Cork and Dundalk contesting 5 finals or something like that, or last 4 finals maybe. It'd be interesting to see how many of these Dublin floating Shamrock Rovers fans I hear so much talking about will actually show up to a cup final. Yeah. So that's the bit I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
It's I know there's a little bit of...
There's a bit of an edge in that.
The undertone of a not even veiled...
First of all, he doesn't want to spend 4 days in Dublin. That's far too much for anyone from Cork to spend in Dublin.
Try living up here. But,
and then the little niggle, that's just leaving one on when the referee's not looking there.
for years you're listening to that, all the floating John Rovers, biggest team in the country and all that. So it'll be interesting to see how many of them actually go and watch the game tomorrow, a cup final.
Yeah.
How many times did you play in Lansdowne Road, actually?
Jeez, I don't know how many. I think about 9 or 10 caps. I think so. About 9 or 10 times, I'd say.
You had a few in Croke Park though as well, I think, wouldn't you? Under trap, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of outings at Croke Park as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, for football and otherwise, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And you were there obviously last year as well. You didn't come on in the game against Dundalk last year. A complete sickener of a way to lose. It was the kind of culmination of that Dundalk-Cork rivalry, dominating a few finals, and we thought we were headed for another extra time and penalties on that day as well, didn't we?
Well, yeah, I don't know how Damien felt. I don't know. I mean, by the standards of the Dundalk-Cork games, the fact that the winner came with 20 minutes to go, it was not as dramatic as some of the others, you know, in terms of how it went to extra time. But I don't know how Damien felt. I mean, obviously, I'd imagine it's a slightly strange day when you're there, but don't get in the pitch, you know. I imagine it's a pain in the arse, to be honest, you know. But
yeah, you know, the season finishes the week before, and then you kind of wait for the cup final, and I knew I wouldn't have played, so. But I was doing the best, or doing all that I could really for the lads to win. But I think that on a big pitch and a good surface that the Aviva is, Dundalk were always kind of in control. It was my memory of the game. You know, they had large chunks of the ball, and they were. I think we were kind of hoping to kind of catch them on the break or get a set piece or something. But tomorrow should be a great game. We've got two sides that play really, really good football, good, attractive brand of football, and it's going to be a battle of who can implement their kind of style more, and I think my heart probably wants Rovers to win it just because of Dundalk, but I think Dundalk will be too strong for them.
When you were playing, you finished off with Palace. How difficult was it, like in a cup final like that, where your time as a Cork City player is kind of coming to an end, and you know yourself that the body is kind of not able to do what it used to do. Like, how hard is that mentally because you played so late in terms of playing Premier League, you played at a really good age, and then all of a sudden you realise that I'm not getting on the team here in an Irish game, cup final day. This should be a good day out, and I'm kind of watching on. I suppose somewhat indifferent as well, because let's be honest, I mean, we're all a bit selfish in that regard.
No, honestly, I genuinely I accepted that I was diminishing quickly. Obviously, I followed that with another decision to have another go at Waterford.
Alan Reynolds is on the line.
I didn't accept it that much, to be honest with you. But you know, Alan Reynolds was at me all winter, and he, you know, like I said, there's sometimes your heart rules your head really. But I think, you know, my Cork City, they run John Caulfield run a very tight ship down there with training and things like that, and unfortunately. The training took it out of me a lot. You know, he trained for long periods of time there, and maybe that was my mistake going back to Cork. And when I spoke over the winter to Alan Reynolds about that, my training load would have been managed. But you know, I accepted that.
Just on that, actually, so like we'll say when Paul McGrath was playing, he had a completely different training regime because of his knees. But were you treated like the same as anyone else by the management down there, in the sense we train, you train?
Yeah, pretty much, man. But you know, and I would never be the type of player that would actually go to management and say, "Hey, listen, can I? You know, it's just not my nature. You know, I'd always need to be told." And then, you know, towards the end, if I was told that, I might not argue it. I go, "Yeah, that's fine." But it was never in my nature to go and ask for a day off or a day inside or something like that. So I just went out and trained. And unfortunately, come Friday nights, I was knackered in the warm-ups because, as I said, John runs long training sessions there. They were tough sessions. And you definitely had to be a young man to play for John, and I certainly wasn't. So that's where that kind of fell apart for me at the back end there, you know.
That's interesting, because, like, I'm not blaming John Caulfield for a second, but there are echoes of another Cork man there, Roy Keane, who basically was doing stuff later in his career that he knew himself he probably shouldn't have been doing. And it's almost this, like, pig ignorance in you, where you're like, no, I'm going to keep doing it and keep doing it, where it might be actually a prudent thing to just kind of wake up one morning after a training session and say, like, do you know what, like, I wouldn't have been like this 2 years ago, so I definitely need to do something here. And it's actually a manly thing to do, to man up and say to the manager, listen, I wouldn't mind taking on a slightly lighter training regime here, because my body literally isn't able. I'll still be able to perform on Friday night, but not if I'm training 5 times a week.
I completely agree with you there, and that was my mistake. So I don't hold John Caulfield responsible in any way for that. It was 100% my mistake. I should have put my hand up. I should have went and knocked on his door, but I didn't. So and that's why it culminated that this time last year, actually, at the Aviva.
On finals as well, actually, just curious, Dan, how many have you covered now at this stage?
Probably Probably 15, I'd say now. Yeah, probably gone back to 2004 in terms of like working at it and stuff like that.
How many different grounds? When you think about it.
So Aviva, Lansdowne
Well,
Road,
it would have been the
RDS.
ones that I covered. Yeah, it would have been Lansdowne, RDS, the Aviva era, and then Tala. The Sporting Fingal and Sligo Rovers was in Tala. That was, I think, 2009. That was the last one before the change around.
And there was Talca and
There was
Dalymount
Talca,
before
I
that,
would have gone
not
to
that
them, but I
long
wouldn't have
ago.
been working at those. But like the final has had various incarnations, and I think going to the Aviva, the Aviva era as such has been good for it. When you think that through the 2000s, and I guess even like Damien would have been on the fringes, sort of Cork City when they got to Derek Collin got the winner in '98, I think it was against Dalymount, but. There was that sort of 30,000 figure from Brace and Francis in 1990 was like the magic number for attendances, and actually now you're sort of hitting that 30 fairly regularly, and you're hoping to push it up to the next level. And it's always a sort of a decent enough day out, but. Like sometimes the elements can maybe take away from the quality of the game, but that's a bit of an excuse as well too.
for 12 months what the weather is more than likely going to be like.
And I think tomorrow,
It's generally grand.
yeah, I think tomorrow.
Might be cold, but it's
I think
fine.
tomorrow, like as Damien mentioned, like you have two decent footballing sides, and the Cork Dundalk dynamic was interesting. That there was an element in some of the games that Cork were trying to stop Dundalk to a degree, and they were very effective. They competed pretty well in all the finals, and you think of 2016 in particular, where Dundalk were top of the world, and Cork did a very effective job on them. But I think Rovers really, they like to try and dominate the ball and dominate the game, and if they play probably a similar enough side to what played in the semi-finals, which I'd say is probably quite likely. So you're talking about players like Gary O'Neill, Aaron McAniff, Jack Byrne, Graham Burke. You're talking about players like that in the pitch, that they're suited, their natural style is to want the ball and control the ball and try and control the game. So the Dog will want to do that as well. So you'd be disappointed if this developed into some kind of tense stalemate, as much as finals.
There has to be a bit of a fear of that though. Just nothing against the two teams. It's just sometimes the way finals.
But it's sometimes the way it goes.
Go.
It is sometimes the way it goes. But I'm even thinking. I mean, they've been going for the league this year. The first game in Tala actually this year was pretty disappointing. It was a 0-0 and it was a bit cagey, but it was more early season stuff. But the last couple, there was a game in Tala in June where Rovers actually pretty much were a better side. Dundalk won 1-0, but that was a decent enough game. And then the recent one in Oriel was 3-2, was it? It was a bit random, that one, in terms of the defensive standards probably slipped. But I just think the better players on the pitch, or certainly not the better players, but the influential players on both sides are at home, when they're on the attack and on the front foot. So you would hope that that's what the game turns out to be, that it does turn out to be a good spectacle. I know sometimes we obsess too much, worry too much about it, rather just enjoying the game, worrying what other people think, worrying what sort of people who tune in once a year think. Just got to let it be a good game, and hope that the floating crowd enjoy it. But there's enough sort of subplots to this to make it a really interesting cup final by any sort of local standards.
Yeah, I think if this game is 0-0 tomorrow, I still think it'll be a very engrossing game and entertaining game. I can't see with the players like Robbie Benson, Jack Byrne, Graham Burke, Michael Duffy, possibly Patrick McElhenney, Aaron Green, Sean Kavanagh. These are proper footballers who want to play football. I can't see this not being a good game, and both managers are going out there trying to be the team, I suppose, that dictates the game. Neither of these teams is going to be kind of on the back foot, and like Cork obviously tried to contain Dundalk a bit more so, which didn't do an awful lot for the spectacle. Here we go.
Oh, there we go.
Where could it be?
Have a go.
We don't know where it is here. So is it?
I do.
What stadium is it?
We are going to St James's Park. No, we're not, because they're not at home. We're going to the London Stadium, where it's West Ham against Newcastle. Guy Swindles.
Newcastle won. Almiron on a run was fouled by Diop, who was booked for his trouble from the resulting free kick. Shelvey saw his effort headed back across goal from Joe Linton, and there was Kieran Clark up from the back to thump a header into the West Ham net. West Ham 0, Newcastle 1.
Bit of a forgotten guy, and it's it's not like we're absolutely laden with very good centre backs either at the moment. And it's great to see him back.
Nick McCarthy's there today as well, actually. So that's that's the interesting aspect there. I mean, you say we're not laden with centre halves, but to be honest, there hasn't been a problem in that area. Like Kieran Clark didn't play from January until November in the Premier League. Now he is playing. Now he deserves to be back in the squad. I think he will be back in the squad, but it's not as if he was especially hard done by. He wasn't playing. Absolutely. You know, but Damien, I'd imagine you've probably played with him. You know,
I might just jump in, guys.
Another
because
update.
We have had a couple of other goals. It's not an Irish scorer, but both Liverpool and Man City have fallen behind in the last 2 minutes. First of all, we'll go to the Etihad Stadium where it's Man City and Southampton, and with the details of that goal is Darren Stanage.
City 0, Southampton 1. Real shock on the cards here. The Saints scoring pretty much with their first attack. It was a counter-attack as well. It eventually came to Stuart Armstrong, who hit one. It was spilled by the goalkeeper, and following up, James Ward-Prowse to fire the ball home. Before that, it had been all City in terms of possession. Couple of half chances. Gundogan fired over on 4 minutes. Kevin De Bruyne with an effort deflected away on 10 as well. Shock on the cards though. City 0, Southampton 1.
We might hold up on that Aston Villa goal because we're doing a VAR check at the moment. It was a free kick coming in off the left. There does appear to be a handful of Aston Villa players just leaning across that
but
offside
is the goal
line.
Score? Is the all
It depends who got it. Yeah, it depends on who the ball came into. Trying to pick out numbers there. It was Trezeguet who eventually put the ball into the net. It was whipped across to the back post, and he just got a side foot onto it. Alisson probably should have done a little bit better. He was coming back across the goal, but it went in, and we're still right in the middle of this check. And while we are doing that, while we are waiting, we have had another goal this afternoon, and it's come at the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal against Wolves. Andrew Cheel.
Arsenal 1, Wolves 0, completely against the run of play, but no Arsenal fans particularly concerned about that. A cleverly worked corner from the right-hand side. Eventually the ball was played across by Guendouzi and side-footed home very simply by Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. It's Arsenal 1, Wolves 0.
So Arsenal 1, Wolves 0. That Aston Villa goal does stand. We'll have a report for you as soon as we get it. So Aston Villa 1-0 up, Trezeguet with the goal. We have had another goal as well. They're all flying in at the moment. It's come at Bramall Lane where Sheffield United are taking on Burnley, and it's Lee Stott.
It's Sheffield United 1, Burnley 0. A cool finish from John Lundstrom to finish off a nice move where the Burnley defence found themselves exposed. David McGoldrick put in a ball from the left side. Lys Mousset tried to tap it in, but it instead went into the path of Lundstrom, who scored from 10 yards. It's Sheffield United 1, Burnley 0.
And we can now hear about that goal at Villa Park. Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 0. With the details, Tom Gale.
Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 0. It was a free kick on this near left-hand side, floated to the back post. Unmarked was the Egyptian Trezeguet. He volleyed it straight through the legs of Alisson. There was a lot of fuss afterwards. Of course, the inevitable VAR check, which went on forever. They were looking at offside, but the goal stands. Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 0.
It's an interesting time for Liverpool because they're just... There's a lot of their play at the moment that isn't all that convincing, as much as they've had a great start. And I think Man City will be... Well, I know they're 6 points behind, but I think they won't be too worried at this stage. Liverpool, this is a big test for them. This is a really big test.
Six is sort of man. I mean, they have to play them.
Better goal
difference. That's the Man City.
And already better goal difference.
And that's coming up. Yeah, you can definitely. Is that a Sunday game? Is it?
That is a Sunday game.
It's after all that day, obviously. But
Nathan Murphy is going to be there.
Yeah. So. Once the gap is that, it's absolutely perfectly fine for Man City. It's manageable. It's only if they slip behind. I mean, you'd imagine they'll come back and do a job in Southampton today. That would be catastrophic. But they haven't been.
It would be quite bizarre. Southampton 9-0 against Leicester and come out and somehow beat Man City.
I don't know. Sometimes I know they lost to them during the week, and sometimes when the team is at its lowest ebb, it can somehow respond and produce something, but at 23 minutes into the game, I'm not going to call anything too dramatic just yet, I don't think.
OK, we are going to take a quick ad break here just to run you through the latest scores in the Premier League before we do. Arsenal 1, Wolves 0, Aston Villa, as we were just talking about, 1-0 up on Liverpool. Man City 1-0 behind against Southampton at the Etihad Stadium. It's scoreless between Brighton and Norwich. It is Sheffield United 1, Burnley 0 and West Ham 0, Newcastle 2. There actually has been a second goal in that game in the last couple of minutes. We'll try to find out now who got it there. I can just see it is 2-0 to Newcastle. Can't see who the scorer is. We will have a report for you, though, coming up after the break.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Screen Time with John Fardy.
This week on Screen Time, I talked to Oscar-winning writer and director Bill Condon about trying to make good liars out of Ian McKellen and Helen Mirren. We review the sequel to The Shining, Dr. Sleep, and ask, is Eddie Murphy finally funny again in Dolomite Is My Name? Plus, Stephanie Preisner picks her favourite movie.
Screen Time with John Farty.
Brought to you by Stella Cinemas.
Download and subscribe to the podcast now, or tune in this evening at 6.
On News Talk.
Productive afternoons with Harvey Norman. Need more you time? Ask about our range of large capacity washing machines with quick wash functions in Harvey Norman today. Now, where's the remote?
Go, Harvey, go! Listen up, class. Aldi's Play Rugby sticker promotion is finishing soon. Keep collecting official Irish rugby stickers every time you spend €30 in Aldi. Fill your primary school's poster for a chance to win one of 2 €50,000 prizes or one of 10 €10,000 prizes for your school's playing facilities. There's a guaranteed Aldi Play Rugby kit worth over €100 for every completed poster submitted. Aldi, official supermarket of the IRFU. Full details at aldi.ie/playrugby. Promotion runs until the 8th of November.
Life these days is all about compromise. A little give and take. You've got to give a little to take a little. You can have this with that, but you can't have that with this. Well, now you can. The all-new Opel Grandland X Hybrid 4 takes the intelligence of a hybrid and gives you the power of an SUV. With Opel's innovative plug-in technology, efficiency now goes even further. And with 4 driving modes, electric, hybrid, all-wheel drive and sport, you can tailor your Grandland X's characteristics to suit whatever journey you're taking. Meaning, you compromise nothing and you get everything. The all-new Opel Grandland X Hybrid 4. Discover more at your Opel dealership.
University is more than just about learning. It's about exploring life's possibilities. Come along to UCD Open Day and find out what the future might hold for you. Meet our expert lecturers, explore our campus and all it has to offer, and see how Ireland's #1 university for graduate employability can help you think bigger, go further, learn more. UCD Open Day, Saturday, November 9th. Register at ucd.ie/Open Day. UCD, think bigger.
Vaccines are your best shot against pneumococcal disease. Pneumococcal disease, or pneumo, is easily spread by coughing or sneezing, and for most it causes mild symptoms. However, some of these infections can make people very sick. Invasive pneumococcal disease is a very serious illness. Of those who develop an invasive infection, 1 in 4 will develop pneumonia, 1 in 4 will develop meningitis, and 1 in 10 will die. The pneumo vaccine is free through the National Immunisation Programme. If you're over 65 or in an identified at-risk group, such as someone with asthma, diabetes or heart disease, talk to your doctor today about pneumo or visit pneumo.ie. Brought to you by MSD, supported by the Asthma Society of Ireland, Diabetes Ireland and CRE.
Picture yourself relaxing in one of Ireland's finest luxury hotels, overlooking the most breathtaking scenery in the heart of Connemara. Imagine yourself at Ballynahinch Castle, gazing out at the stunning 12 Bens mountain range, enjoying lazy riverside strolls and greenway cycles. Imagine fine dining, local seasonal food, and cozy evenings by open log fires. Picture yourself at Ballynahinch Castle on the wild Atlantic Way. See what tranquility looks like at ballynahinchcastle.com.
Birra Moretti believes that in Italy, great food is found in every kitchen, from arancini to bruschetta and beyond. But even if the extent of your Italian menu is spaghetti bolognese, there's always Birra Moretti, Italy's favorite beer, to add an authentic Italian touch to Ireland's dinner tables. Ah, delizioso! Great taste, never lost in translation. Birra Moretti, l'italiana autentica. Always drink responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie.
Are you concerned about diabetes? For the first time ever, Ireland's largest diabetes health and well-being event is coming to the Limerick Strand Hotel on Sunday, November 10th from 12 to 5 p.m. It's free and features product stands, the latest in technologies, healthy living, free testing, a range of workshops and much, much more. Why not come along to this free event? For more information, visit diabetes.ie or call 01 842 8118.
We began our search for Ireland's greatest businesswomen some months ago, and now we've got our shortlist. The Image Businesswoman of the Year award stretches across 9 categories, plus the overall Image Businesswoman of the Year. Join 1,000 of Ireland's key influencers on Monday, November the 25th at the Clayton Hotel, Burlington Road, as we announce the winners. The evening will include plenty of treats and surprises for all, as well as the great reveal. The Image Businesswoman of the Year Awards, sponsored by Liffey Valley, BMW, Samsung, Number 7, Kuehne Nagel and Queen's University. Details on image.ie.
Proudly supported by News Talk. Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
Sends the cross in, diving headed clearance by Coleman and volleyed in brilliantly by Christian Eriksen. What a goal! Half volley, 25 yards out, first time, and he fires it past Jordan Pickford. That is a goal of stunning quality from Christian Eriksen, and Spurs strike again right at the start of the second half. It's Everton 1, Tottenham 4. Christian Eriksen, top drawer stuff. Lamela charging forward through to Heung-min Son, lovely control. Heung-min Son 1-on-1, scores again. The Everton defenders look for the offside flag. It never came, and Heung-min Son scores his second and Spurs fifth. And surely now Everton are beaten. An hour gone at Goodison. It's Everton 2, Tottenham 5. And who else would it be but Harry Kane, who for the 4th time in a row against Everton has scored a brace. Everton 2, Spurs 6.
Yeah, tell you one thing about the boy Nathan Murphy. 3 generations of the Murphy clan at Terryland Park for an under-19 game on Monday night. I mean, this is a proper football
savage
man.
Football men.
Did I preface that with what was he, the broadcaster of the year, Nathan Murphy?
Yeah, but a football man. Yeah.
So I'll tell you one thing about broadcaster of the year.
He used to be a
Nathan
football
Murphy.
man until he started going to rugby in the RDS on a Friday night.
Yeah, but no.
The social media feed has become.
He does a couple of Wednesday night rugbies and things like that. Chats to Brian O'Driscoll for a little bit, and all of a sudden he's out at the RDS.
Still talks about
on
the fact,
cold, wet Friday night.
Still talks about the fact that his Brian O'Driscoll segment was like top of some charts at that time. Screen grabbing it around. Clearly just to impress his new rugby friends. He has to fit in. You know, his Friday night in the RDS is a big part of the social fabric of Johnny's winter now. He's just sending random messages to me about rugby players.
On a Friday night between now and February.
True though. It's true. It's actually the RDS is certainly not a bad night out, and
definitely not.
Actually, the former Irish Rugby 8 was my last rugby interview, whose name you've just brought out a book.
How well known was this?
He's just brought out a book.
Has he brought out a podcast?
No.
Yes. Jamie Heaslip. So I went into the Barry part home. That's how bad it has become. And
you wouldn't get away with that in Mac Arson. Definitely not.
No.
You would not be. What was his name again? The guy.
Heaslip. Wait a second. Yeah. Damien, when's your book coming out?
I don't know, man. I haven't even thought about doing it, to be honest with you, but maybe up the road sometime I might.
3 months to write it and 3 months to write it and 9 months to legal it.
Who'd write it though?
It reminds me.
Johnny's putting his pitch forward
I said it to Jim Bulger one day. I was like, Jim, I was up at his house and I was like, you must have an unbelievable book to write, and if you need a ghostwriter, I'm available for the work. And he kind of paused and he goes, you're number 13 on the list. I never really got over that. But anyway, Damien, we're both available. Dan, of course, is a track record. Did the Keith Gillespie book, which was a great book.
You've done a few of them now, have you?
No, that's just the one.
Oh, just Keith?
Did Keith, which was...
I thought you'd done another one. Can't remember.
Interesting. I think Damien probably needs a Cork voice, though. I'd say the Cork lads want a Cork voice to really tell the story.
Only a Cork voice could truly kind of...
Yeah, he could capture
the man.
It's
understand your emotion I'm trying to get out,
Yeah.
The inner angst.
Yeah.
Roy Keane could do it. I mean, he doesn't have an awful lot of work going on. He's a bit of book history. He could do it with you.
Yeah, but I'd have to sit with him for a long period of time.
Roy Keane has ruled himself out of ghostwriting.
Ghostwrite if the deal was worth it. I mean, he might, you know, for a good deal.
He's not going to be a Dubliner doing it anyway after his comments earlier on.
No.
Couldn't spend 4 days up here.
No.
All right.
Johnny doing a rugby book is something I'd be up for now. Johnny ghostwriting a rugby book.
At the breakdown.
Ghostwriting, just writing one in general.
Or just Johnny's, yeah.
Just the kind of...
In all seriousness, what was it like
of a
doing
new
that,
man to the sport.
What was it like doing that? I mean, it must involve an awful lot of work. Like, and transcribing is one of my pet hates in life.
It's a strange process because, like, I'd have fairly strong views that, like, you want the book to be in their voice, you know. But it's natural that if you write for a living, that you have a style and you have a way of doing it. And like, I was, you know, very conscious that if like he'd gone out to do interviews and stuff afterwards, like he's going on a radio show or doing that circuit, that like you want his performance there to reflect what's said in the book, you know, and like, you know, his
you don't
attitude
want someone
towards
listening to his interview kind of going,
well, he sounds very different, you know, and that's the thing. Like, I've just been some brilliant written sports books, but some of them you're sort of going, well, this doesn't sound anything remotely like the personality. I've heard this guy been interviewed, and like, are you doing the book to portray them in a sort of to portray them as a god-like figure, or are you just going to do it to portray them as they are? And like the feedback that I sort of liked the most from that is, you know, because Keith's life had been sort of, you know, it's fairly colourful enough, and you know, would have made mistakes along the way. And like, some people who read the book were like, yeah, I read that, I'm not really sure what I make of him. And I always thought that was a good thing, in the sense that it wasn't like just portraying as everything was, he was hard done by and everything. Yeah. Like, you have to actually have someone to come out and say, well, no, actually I wasn't right about this and that. And sometimes, like, I think people probably go into the process of doing their book and they just want to like settle their scores and, you know, portray themselves, well, you know, and the following people are liars, you know, and to sort of move through it. Whereas, you know, I would have said to Keith at the start, and he would have been of the view, in fairness himself, that no, like, you sort of have to tell your own story here, and if people don't like it, then so be it.
I think Dan makes a good point there, though. Like, the Roy Keane's book, like, there was just so many passages you were like, well, that's Eamon Dunphy, that's Eamon Dunphy, that's Eamon Dunphy, and it was like, you could clearly tell the ghostwriter from the writer, which is not what you're going for.
Like, Andrew Agassi's book is frequently cited as one of the great sports books, and as a work of like sort of literature, it's amazing. Like,
storytelling.
Well, yeah, but I just found it, I don't know, like, it wasn't for me, because I was thinking, well, this is amazing, but like, is this the most thoughtful man in the world? You know what I mean? Like, and where has he been? You know, I know he's had a colourful life, but it's just like, there was aspects of it that were weird. Sorry, Damien. Yeah.
I know that if you write that book and you tell a story a certain way, and then he goes on a radio show to talk about it, and then I'm going to go, geez, that story's totally different to the way I read it in the book. And you like, you know, so I get that definitely. That'll be a big issue.
You didn't find yourself for a few months afterwards speaking with a Northern Irish accent?
No,
using words that Keith Gillespie uses.
No, and like, and to be honest, it was the first one I'd done, and like, you know, I remember Robbie Fowler's book years ago. He actually had, I think it was David Maddock, who's like a sports writer in Liverpool, did it, and he really, like, he went full into the lingo. You know, like, you really, like, his terms, his slang and stuff like that, and like,
a method ghostwriter.
Yeah, but very much so. But it was very authentic and real. And I didn't, like, if I had another go at it again, you sort of think, would you like to sort of amend sections of it that it's just too much your style and your phrasing and your words and, you know, however, and, you know, all, you know, just terms that are just, that mightn't necessarily have been natural to him, but like, it's natural that happens.
Yeah.
You know,
are you saying there, so that you'd love to go like full Daniel Day-Lewis and like just become, you know, in character for the whole book? Yeah.
Just go absolutely method. Yeah, I'd probably get turned away from a couple of dressing rooms after a while, though, to be honest, you know.
It is funny though. Like, I've always, if I said if I ever like wrote a racing book, I'd want to, like, I'd have no interest doing the champion at all. I'd like to do the journeyman, the lad who's scrimmaging to make a living. And to me, the journeyman story is always more entertaining and more kind of,
they have a lot more to tell.
Relevant, yeah, like more relevant than like the likes of, we'll say, Ruby Walsh. So I reiterate, Damien, I am available.
Yeah, but even I mean, you mentioned I did a piece with Jack Byrne today, and myself and David Snade actually both did it, because we both had exactly the same idea.
It's worth showing there.
I'll pull it up
2 and 3. Get the League of Ireland 2 and 3. Jack and Jackie.
But
2-page spread, the whole lot.
We both had the same idea, actually, myself and Dave Snade, and he did it for the 42 after the semi-final. That every interview with Jack, he spoke about his mother, or his mother kept being referenced, and like, you know, every sports person, like, they all have a backstory. They all have a family that's lived, and Damien can relate to this, that have sort of lived every step of their journey to a degree. And rather than necessarily just doing a piece with Jack and talking to Jack, who's been in here and has done a lot of stuff over the last year, you know, talking about his own story, to actually go into the family home and get Jack around people that he knows. And to be honest, like, it was his mother Jackie, his sister Jodie, Graham Barrett, his agent, and Flinner, the guy Niall Flynn, is his best friend, and a very close family friend. Is actually the best friend of his brother. And I mean, Jack's story is that his dad died when he was quite young. And the whole piece is how they all responded to that. Jack left home at 14 and he's only come back this year. But like, that is this sort of setting where you sat in the room, you got talking to them, and the guard was very much down, and they just spoke about their life, their story.
That's kind of the beauty of the League of Ireland as well, that lads will.
Well, it's a beauty. I mean, it's not so much to be the League of Ireland.
Get access like that.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah,
it probably is.
Top level.
But like, I think that's.
But it was a great, like, the fact that the two of you came up with the same idea.
It's certainly hard to get that level of access.
Yeah,
to get like a player and his extended family, and I do love this line at the end, because this is, in fairness to Dan, it was a great piece, but he literally just transcribed what was said. So it's just like Jack, Jackie, Jack, Jackie, Jack, Jack. But it was a brilliant piece. But he goes, Jack.
The question.
It was an hour-long chat, John. It was an hour-long chat.
We're staying in Carton House on Saturday night. I probably would have rather to stay here. It takes you out of routine. And Jackie's like, Jesus, are you? I didn't know that now. And he goes, yeah, it's brutal. Staying in Carton House, the big double bed, it's brutal. And he goes, he came home into he came back into a little tiny box room, God bless him. Not one complaint out of him. He goes, I have to put the phone out the window to send a text. It doesn't even fit in the room. And that's Jack Byrne.
Yeah, but I think the point is that, like, Jack is a fairly confident fella, and in a dressing room environment, I'd say he's probably the loudest voice. But in the family home, Jackie's the loudest voice, you know. And I mean, once she started talking, I just did not know what was coming, you know. And like, she told a story about how, again, her husband John, who died when Jack was 11, that she's kept some of the ashes in a pouch, and she brings the pouch sort of everywhere with her. So when Jack got the call and went to Gibraltar in March, there's a whole story about how they were in the Clonliffe house when they heard that Jack came running into the pub, and her response is, oh, what's happened? Have you crashed a car? What's happening going on here? I'm in the squad.
And then they started playing.
They turned on like we're all part of Jackie's army. But they all decided to go to Gibraltar, and Jack is running down the sideline with Jackie waving the pouch with the husband.
No pressure.
And like, that's a very funny story. But then in the same breath, going, well, he'd always said he was going to play for Ireland one day, and so there was just laughter and then like almost tears, you know. But like, it's the whole idea, and I'm sort of bringing it back to the start of, like, you know, even doing a book or doing stuff like that, where you get people into their natural environment, you see who they are. There's a front that they will have to put out when they're put in front of a room with microphones and, you know, reporters and everyone there, and it's stage managed with a press officer to your left, and that's what you probably get in a lot of the other sports that you mentioned. But when you put someone home into their family, they are what they've been all their life with other people around it. And I'm sure, I don't know, can Damien relate to that in a way that you have your press conference self, or you have your work interview mode, but then when you're in your house, you're in your house. You know, it's a different world.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Sometimes, you know, if you know you're going in to do press or before a game or after a game, you do have a little minute where you just switch into a different kind of, I won't say personality, but a different mode, you know, where you won't say anything silly, and you make sure that what you say is very kind of like bland and not very controversial or anything, that you just run through it. Whereas at least knowing finished, you can kind of say what you want, and people can live with it or not, like, you know.
This book is going to be a good book. There is an element of, that Simpsons episode where Principal Skinner, it turns out it's not actually him, it's a different character called Armin Tanzarian. And then at the end, he's like, he says to his mother, you know, from now on, you're going to see a new Seymour Skinner. And his mother's like, no, we won't. He's like, yes, mother. So, like, it's like Jack may be the most confident lad in the world, but when he's in front of his mother, she's still the boss. Like, and that's kind of what came out in the piece. And I'd love, as much as Jack's a great lad, I actually want to have a pint with Jackie more than Jack at this stage after reading that interview.
You can head down to the Clonliffe house this evening after the show. Maybe.
You
have plans, do you? All right.
There's a Pro 14 game on or something.
if Jackie's, I wouldn't ask them to put on the rugby in the Clonliffe house.
Connacht both have matches this evening.
I'll see you at the bridge.
But it is great though that, like, football still has that ability where it's like he's one of the lads, and like his mother's in the Clonliffe house, and he walks in, and in a working class area of Dublin, I'm playing for Ireland next week, and he comes in and he's living in a box room because, as Damien would know, footballers nowadays are so far, I suppose, removed from the reality of normal
But
life.
this is the thing, though. Like, I mean, I remember Glenn Whelan speaking recently about like how his family say would have been affected by criticism he received when he played for Ireland. And actually, like, this is one of this trope that's existed over the last 10, 15 years, that footballers are removed from reality. But actually, and not going down a very generalisation where I'm not, but like, there's footballers are generally from a range of backgrounds and different, and some of them are from a very different background to maybe, the wealth that they encounter maybe when they get to the top of their profession. But it still doesn't change where they're from and where their story is and where it's come out of. And actually, like, sometimes you just have to go and tell those stories. And
can I just say there, like, I completely agree there, because people say footballers are so far removed, and sometimes you have to be, because if you're yourself, you look at like the Xhaka situation with Arsenal there, he gets berated week in, week out, death threats, the whole 9 yards. And then he tells this one thing to fans, and they all get massively offended. So you can't actually say anything to anyone anymore. And if someone does show their personality or does show who they truly are, it's going to upset someone, because some people are going to like it, some people aren't going to like it. And if somebody doesn't like you, they're going to say, well, I'm offended by that. And then you get crucified by someone. So sometimes you're better off just taking a massive step back and go, I'm not getting involved with anyone because I can't win here. Because if I say something that you like, Dan, Johnny might not like it, and then Johnny says I'm offended, and then you're like going, well, I've just drawn a whole kind of Twitter storm or whatever into my life that I didn't need anyway. So, I think I'm a big one for that, man. Football fans give out so much abuse. And if you stare at a football fan for too long, he'll tell the steward that he felt threatened, or, you can't do anything to them anymore. So, people complain there's not enough characters in the game, but unfortunately, that's the reason it's gone out of it.
Yeah.
Just to remind you as well, our football coverage here on Off the Ball is brought to you thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. We have had a couple of goals very quickly in that Sheffield United-Burnley game. None to an Irish player, though. We can hear about them now from Lee Stott.
It's Sheffield United 3, Burnley 0. So a second goal of the game for John Lundstrom, rather similar to his first effort. The ball came in from the left side. Lys Mousset tried to tap it in. He didn't manage it. Came to Lundstrom on the right, who did fire home. And then just moments later, John Fleck finds himself on the left side, around about 16 yards out. And with his left foot, puts it past the goalkeeper in the Burnley goal, Nick Pope. It is Sheffield United 3, Burnley 0.
Yeah, so all those games coming up around half-time now. We'll get you those reports as soon as they come in. Congratulations also to Tom Kavanagh, who was our text winner, who correctly got in touch, fastest finger, to tell us it was Kieran Clark who scored that Newcastle goal. We kind of got sidetracked into a conversation. I didn't get a chance to congratulate him at the time. We do have a half-time report in, the first of them coming from the Emirates Stadium, where it is Arsenal taking on Wolves, and we can hear from Andrew Cheal.
Arsenal 1, Wolves 0. Aubameyang's goal, a simple side foot from a well-worked short corner on 21 minutes. Torreira's also put in a fizzing fingertip shot, tipped wide by Patricio. Before the goal on 21, as I say, it was all Wolves. The Gunners unable to get out of their own half for most of the time. Jota twice and Moutinho all going close. And near to half-time, Doherty's firmly struck left footer brought a fine save by Leno in the Arsenal goal. It's Arsenal 1, Wolves 0.
Almost an Irish score there. Matt Doherty coming close for Wolves to an equaliser. Half-time whistle has also gone at the Etihad Stadium, Manchester City against Southampton, and it's not going too well for City, as Darren Stanage will tell us.
Manchester City 0, Southampton 1. Southampton not looking anything like the side they were last weekend when they were humbled 9-0. They are in front at the break here. They scored with their first real attack. It was an effort from Stuart Armstrong just outside the area, spilled by Edison and following up James Ward-Prowse to fire home. But it has been all Manchester City, as you would expect, but so far no shots on target of their 14 they have had. It's City 0, Southampton 1.
Another half-time whistle has just gone at the London Stadium, where West Ham are taking on Newcastle. Newcastle 2-0 up last time we were there. The latest is with Guy Swindles.
West Ham 0, Newcastle 2. Headers from Kieran Clark and from Fernandes setting the Toonami on their way. They could have had 2 more, a couple of 1-to-1s for St Maxim that eventually were kept out by the keeper. Shelby also hit the bar. West Ham's best moments, if they can be called that, came right at the death. Dubravka making a couple of half-decent saves, but there were boos for the home side as they went off at the break. West Ham 0, Newcastle 2.
Yeah, the latest scores from around the other grounds as well. It is still Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 0. That half-time whistle has just gone. We'll have a report as soon as we can on that as well. Brighton and Norwich still 0-0 as well at the moment. And Watford and Chelsea kicks off at 5:30. That's the late game this evening. We do have a few more minutes before the next ad break, guys. Dan, as we were kind of talking there, you were mentioning how, getting a footballer like that in a nice comfortable situation in his living room with his family, the guard comes down. In general, what are the players in the League of Ireland like in terms of characters out there? Are there guys who'll kind of give you some...
yeah.
Talk to you like you're a person rather than a reporter.
Yeah, but there's great, there's absolutely fantastic characters within the league. The Guardian had a piece with Pico Roberto Lopez today, who's sort of dual qualified. His dad's from the Cape Verde Islands and he got called into the squad recently. And yeah, me myself and Johnny do a podcast together and we generally get lads in for an hour and they're very relaxed. And I think the stories aren't told enough, and I think there's a lot of people that have some of the best sports stories in Ireland are often there's figures within the League of Ireland who've seen a lot of things in the football world, in England as well. Yeah. And very rarely, do the Sunday paper review here, and a lot of the Sunday stuff often
the most random stories,
but it wouldn't go near a lot of the league stuff really, and it's just a blind spot that people have. It's not just a League of Ireland thing. And as I said, it's about knowing the characters and the backgrounds, and actually when you go into footballers' backgrounds, you'll find they're very relatable. David Snade did a brilliant piece around this time last year with Aidan O'Brien at Millwall.
I remember we were talking about that on the pay-per-view.
Going around his community in London. Now, incredibly, they had the Journalism Awards nominations recently, and I have no idea how that piece wasn't nominated because, it was up there with anything across the past year. And in terms of insight compared to some of the other stuff that was listed, I thought it was extraordinary. It wasn't nominated, but that was just walking around with someone's community, walking around, seeing where they've come from. Again, not a great area. People have again, the whole idea is, and like a lot of League of Ireland lads as well, you could get them out of their natural habitat, I suppose, get them out of their around the ground, and just it's like just. The art of interviewing generally is make someone comfortable and relaxed, and generally the League of Ireland lads are more comfortable and relaxed because they don't have layers of press officers around them. You don't have to jump through hoops to get to speak to them. They're generally open to talking, and a lot of them that have been away, unfortunately, maybe some of the stories follow a similar theme that they've had some disappointment and and they're trying to rebuild it, and it's how they cope with that, and maybe there's something slightly repetitive about that, but generally there's some of the best interviews you would do would be the guys within the league who've seen the other side of the game.
And I think the managers deserve some credit as well, because in Gaelic games, just the way that they've basically prevented their own players from giving any sort of meaningful interview. And you remember when Joe Canning gave the interview with Vincent Hogan? It was actually the weekend, I'm pretty sure it was the weekend that they won the All-Ireland, or the weekend they beat Tipperary in the semi-final, but it didn't stop them from winning the All-Ireland, and it was my basic point. But
I think it was the weekend of the final,
and it was like Vincent Hogan to get a piece like this was kind of like, I don't know, insert analogy here, but it was astounding. The piece itself was very run-of-the-mill in terms of sports journalism, but by GA standards, it was absolutely astounding that you could get this access. And Vincent's, without a shadow of doubt, one of the best writers in Ireland. But one thing that, Dan mentioned in our podcast there, one thing that has really shone through, and this really reaffirms how much I would like the game to grow in this country, is how often these kids get homesick and literally get depressed and start suffering from depression in England. And we had Sean Kavanagh on, who's going to be playing left back for Overs tomorrow night. We had him on earlier in the season, and he basically probably admitted for the first time in an interview, I was effectively suffering from depression when I wasn't getting on well in England. Jack's piece today, I was astounded by how low he was in Scotland, where I think it was Jackie was kind of saying to, I think it was to Graham Barrett, he needs to get out here. And it was almost like like you have this. I'm not saying Jack was suicidal or anything like that, but he was clearly in a bad place, and that shines through. And we never, like, I went to America for like 8 weeks when I was 15, and I remember being I was on a beach, and I was one of the most beautiful scenes you'll ever have, and I got this horrible sick feeling in my stomach when I realised I'm not going to be home for another 6 weeks. That was 6 weeks, and I was like, I'm homesick, I'm really homesick. These kids go over at 14 or 15, and they might be living in some like grim northern town where basically they're finished at 1 o'clock. And then when things start to go wrong, and I don't think they're naturally predisposed to depression, these players, but they're completely out of their comfort zone. And I think it's
not a natural environment.
It's
for
just natural.
That age.
I mean, it's the reality of our football industry, it's our football culture. I mean, Davey went over a bit later, you see, so that's a slight contrast.
Well, if Brexit happens, that can't happen anymore, because if Brexit happens, no minors from the Republic of Ireland can go to the UK.
They'll find a way, John.
I don't think they can, unless FIFA bend the rules.
Like Jack went at 14, like he went to it, like.
It's in FIFA's rules. They literally can, unless they change the rules.
They'll find a way.
You reckon they will?
I think they will. I think you just move the family over, and you're moving for, the family are moving over for, for work reasons. Well, that's what will happen. There is absolutely no doubt that's what will happen. Man City or Liverpool, it'll be less so to the middle tier clubs. The guys who are going to a Preston or going to those lesser sort of clubs, but the big clubs will find a way. All of a sudden, everyone will get employment and jobs in the area. That will happen.
Damien, on that, like, how were you when you moved over? Obviously, as the lads were saying, you would have gone over a little bit later than a lot of other players would have. Did you feel a lot more comfortable at the age that you were over there at, and would you have seen younger lads struggling?
Yeah, look, I definitely think if it's very hard to tell a kid not to go at 14 or 15 or 16. It's not impossible. They're going to go, aren't they? But I thank God really that I was lucky enough to go later in life, because I was much more mature as a person. I worked in a normal job. I was much more around it. So it's the best possible way to go. Some people think it's too late, but I think if you live kind of by the way of saying it, like, the cream always rises. It eventually does, really. And if you go over at 14 or you go over at 20, there's cases for everyone, really. People have gone at all different stages. But perseverance is a big thing, because you're going to get, one thing is guaranteed, you're going to get kicked in the teeth over there. You're going to have tough times. You're going to not play. You're going to fall out with the manager. You're not going to like your teammates. And as a young man, that's very, very difficult. So I think perseverance is a major part of it.
Mm-hmm. OK, it's time to round off the half-time updates. We'll go over to Villa Park now. Villa still holding firm against Liverpool. Tom Gale.
Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 0. So at half-time, the shock is on, and the home side came flying out of the blocks inside the first minute. Anwar El Ghazi drawing a neat save from Alisson. And then 20 minutes later, a free kick floated in. Trezeguet unmarked at the back post. His volley went through Alisson's legs. So we stood around for what felt like an age for VAR to agree with the on-field decision, so the goal stands. And less than 10 minutes later, down the other end, a sweeping move from the league leaders. Mane's cross into Firmino, right-footed into the bottom left-hand corner. At the time, it was given offside, but when then we had an anxious VAR check, and despite this angle showing it was mere millimetres if it was offside, they agreed once again with the on-field decision. So at half-time, Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 0.
Sheffield United on course to go up to 6th place in the table this afternoon. They're cruising against Burnley. We can hear from half-time at Lee Stott.
It's Sheffield United 3, Burnley 0, and 2 goals just before the break have probably put the home side out of sight here. John Lundstram got his second of the game. It was almost identical to his first. The ball came in from the left side. In-form striker Lys Mousset tried to tap it in. He didn't manage to. It came to Lundstram on the right to fire home. About 90 seconds later, a great individual goal from John Fleck, who fired past Nick Pope from about 20 yards. The visitors had a VAR check for a penalty at 1-0 down when the ball hit Jack O'Connell's arm, and were a bit unlucky that it wasn't given. Sheffield United 3, Burnley 0.
And the only scoreless game so far today is taking place at the Amex Stadium, Brighton against Norwich, with Richard Newman.
Half-time, Brighton and Hove Albion 0, Norwich City 0. Entertaining game at times, this one. Brighton have dominated it and went close to opening and scoring twice just before the break. Neil Maupay skying over, rebounded save from Tim Krul. And then Alex Tettey almost scored an own goal with a flying header just over the bar. Stephen Alzate's also gone close twice, while Maupay and Aaron Connolly's pace are causing all kinds of problems in the Norwich defence, whose best moments have come from capitalising on loose passes from Albion. They hit the bar early on through a clever Marco Stiepermann shot. The downside for Brighton, a serious-looking injury to defender Adam Webster, perhaps his ankle. Shane Duffy on in his place. At the break, it's Brighton 0, Norwich 0.
And very quickly, the latest scores at half-time in the Sky Bet Championship. In the early game, Swansea went top of the table for the time being, at least, with a 2-1 win against Wigan. At the moment, though, Leeds are on course to overtake them. They are leading Queen's Park Rangers 1-0 at half-time. The other scores, Cardiff City 2-1 in front against Birmingham. Derby County 1-0 in front against Middlesbrough. Hull City have a 1-0 lead away to Fulham. It's Luton Town 0, Nottingham Forest 1, Reading 2, Millwall 0, Blackburn 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0, and Brentford 0, Huddersfield Town 0. Time for a quick break, but in a few minutes' time we'll have more from Dan, Johnny and Damien.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
Join that conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
At Experts Electrical, we know great appliances make life better. And now there's great cashback deals with Electrolux. Up to €75 cashback on selected Electrolux appliances. Make life cleaner, cooler, drier and more delicious with up to €75 cashback on the Electrolux range. At your local Experts Electrical store and expert.ie today.
At Centra, we have great offers, like Centra Irish Chicken Fillets 454 gram, only €4. And our mega deals until Sunday, Cadbury and Oreo biscuit selection, half price at €4, and selected Coca-Cola 20 and 24 pack cans, just €8 each. Centra, live every day.
We do it in the toilet, in the car, in bed. We do it from anywhere. We love online shopping. So if your business isn't online, you're missing out big time. Buy a .ie today from hostingireland.ie and get a website free for a year. So wherever your customers are, they'll always be able to find you. Get started at hostingireland.ie.
Some products in the shops will do anything to convince you they're Irish. But unless they carry the Love Irish Food logo, you can't be sure. The jig is up, lads.
Much of the food that we buy in the supermarket is imported, so consider what you're buying before you buy it. When shopping, look for the Love Irish Food logo. Love Irish Food, supporting local business, jobs and communities.
At Lexus, we have always anticipated the future, relentlessly pushing the boundaries of beautiful design and innovative technology, so you're ready for what's ahead. Introducing the new Lexus ES. Our executive saloon combines powerful, self-charging hybrid technology with an exceptional driving experience and the luxury that you expect from a Lexus. Test drive the new ES at your Lexus retailer and choose from a range of flexible payment options. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Everyone shouts about how fast their broadband is.
We're fast, mega fast, stupid fast, almost too fast.
But what do they say about reliability? With Virgin Media, you get both. Ireland's fastest broadband network and 99.9% network reliability. Reliability at speed. See virginmedia.ie.
Terms and conditions apply. Ireland's fastest broadband network as awarded by Ookla. Network reliability. See virginmedia.ie/proof.
Charity Trustees Week is a big thank you to the thousands of people running charities in Ireland. From November 11th to 15th, Charity Trustees Week will celebrate the work of charity trustees with a series of events nationwide. This year's exciting programme includes a wide range of events and opportunities for trustees. If you're a charity trustee or are interested in becoming a charity trustee, log on to www.charitiesregulator.ie for a full list of events.
As a business owner, Brexit could affect you in any number of ways. At AIB, we have an extended Brexit support line to help you in this time of uncertainty. Whether you need help preparing for Brexit or have a concern, call 0818 300 081. Lines are open 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday, or visit aib.ie/Brexit. AIB, we back brave. Allied Irish Banks plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Together with every electric vehicle owner, ESB is powering Ireland towards a cleaner, brighter future. To ensure we're ready to support more electric vehicles on our roads, we're investing in and upgrading the ESB public charging network across Ireland. As part of this process, we're introducing pricing for our public fast chargers from November 18th. To sign up for an introductory offer before November 30th, visit esb.ie/ecars.
Is 50 really the new 40? Can we defy the aging process with superfoods, Botox and exercise? In this week's Sunday Independent Life magazine, we explore the great anti-aging myth. With the general election campaign effectively underway, Micheál Martin tells Niamh Horan what he really thinks of Leo Varadkar. After another sinister week, Maeve Sheehan investigates the threat to the state in Ireland's borderlands. And with winter drawing in, warm up with Rachel Allen's Simply Cozy Suppers, the Sunday Independent, the complete read.
What's this? A superglue accident? His hands are completely stuck to his face.
I wish it were that simple, Doctor, but he's totally gobsmacked. Look, when you pull his hands away, they slap right back into his face.
Don't tell me. He was at Specsavers trying those new hidden hearing aids to connect to your phone.
That's right.
That's the 50th case this week. There's a woman in there who can't get her eyebrows down.
At Specsavers, we're putting the awe into audiology with new ReSound Wireless Lynx Quattro hearing aids. Smartphone required. Ask in store for details.
Across Ireland. This is the IMRO Radio Awards Station of the Year. This is News Talk.
Good afternoon from the news desk. I'm Fiona Ash. Irish passengers have been left stranded in Krakow Airport after Ryanair cancelled departing flights yesterday due to fog. Shannon and Dublin were among 8 routes cancelled, starting from 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Ryanair says it's offered refunds or a switch to the next available flight, with some passengers saying they were told it would be as late as next Thursday. Roisin O'Donovan, a teacher from Dublin, says she had to make her own arrangements to get home.
So last night was absolute chaos. We were put on a bus to Katowice, told that we would have a flight from there when our flight from Krakow was delayed, and then we were 10 minutes from that airport and they told us the flight was cancelled, and they shipped us back down to Krakow to nothing really, and then we had to we got our own hotel.
Fianna Fáil says Northern Ireland's broadband scheme will cost half the price of the national broadband plan in the south. Spokesperson on communications Jack Chambers says Granahan McCourt is bidding for the initiative to roll out broadband to 100,000 premises in rural Northern Ireland. The national broadband plan is expected to cost about €5,000 per household, while Project Stratum in the north will cost about €1,900 for a similar product from the same provider. Deputy Chambers says this raises concerns.
The fact that this broadband provider can provide it at a much reduced cost north of the border shows that the government has been asleep at the wheel with the cost of this project. And we know already that it's going to cost a multiple of what was already projected a number of years ago. But it raises questions about the integrity of the project and why Irish taxpayers should pay a multiple of the cost for a similar project up north by the same provider.
A 25-year-old man's appeared in court charged with possession of a gun and ammunition on Dublin's north side earlier this week. Jake Carney of Coolock Drive, Dublin 17, was arrested at 9:30 last Wednesday when a Gardaí stopped a car on the Oscar Traynor Road. He was charged with having an automatic pistol and 8 rounds of ammunition. Mr Carney was refused bail and has been remanded to Cloverhill Prison until November the 5th. Don't forget, for all the latest news updates, you can go to our website, that's newstalk.com.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to the AA, you can find our lowest car insurance price online, guaranteed.
Further rain in many areas this evening, but breaking up into showers and clear spells overnight with mist and fog patches. It will be dry in many places at first on Sunday with brighter sunny spells, but rain will extend from the west later in the day. Highest temperatures 10 to 12 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
All right, you're very welcome back to Off the Ball. Neil Treacy here with you in the company of Dan McDonnell, football correspondent for the Irish Independent, Johnny Ward and Damien Delaney on Skype as well. A reminder, our football coverage is brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. Now, guys, we've barely actually spoken about tomorrow's final itself. We've talked about a lot in and around it, the various characters that are going to be involved and of previous finals. How are we set up for tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, the big story of the week probably is that Chris Shields isn't going to play for Dundalk. And again, for people maybe who are just tuning in.
You kind of talk us through the reasoning behind it.
Well, the reasoning behind it is bizarre. I mean, Chris Shields misses because he picked up 8 yellow cards across the season, an accumulation. Now, Dundalk won the league a month ago, and Dundalk really should have known that Chris Shields being on 7. It's without going into it, it's sort of a convoluted process that if you get your 8th yellow card, you don't miss the next game. You miss actually the game and the week after next because the disciplinary meeting takes place midweek. So let's just say you had a
game will have been played by the time that happens.
The next game would have been played if it was on a Monday, and there's a lot of Monday fixtures. Now, it just so happened in this case there wasn't, but to have a consistency across the season, they have to have it the week after, right? But the club should know, and the club, from what I can gather, we're working off the understanding that 8 yellow cards, which doesn't carry over into the first game of the next league season now, which is a change in the rules, it also wouldn't carry over into the cup final. And they thought that things would be okay, that players with 5 yellows and 8 yellows don't miss out, but players with 12 yellows, which is the next threshold, do.
Because they did who was on 5 yellows and he's not missing out?
Dane Massey. Yeah. And years ago there was a rumpus over players missing out with 4, which was scandalous. I mean, 4 yellow cards across a 30-game season for a defender is just indefensible.
It's good.
So exactly, it's almost far too well behaved. You should have got 6, you know.
I'd be reprimanded.
So, 8 for Chris Shields is probably, for a defensive midfielder, it's kind of 1 every 5 games if you count other competitions. It's probably, reflective of the norm. But anyway, they had a chance to avoid it, and if they had been fully on top of it and read the rules probably before he picked the 8th yellow card rather than reading them afterwards, then he would have avoided it. Now, I think there's going to be a bit of a he said, she said over correspondence that happened around it, but it doesn't basically matter. There's no dispute that the rule that existed at the start of the season was that he missed after 8. Whether people thought it didn't apply or not, the fact is it did. And as a result, I mean, this is a very important player for Dundalk. I mean, Dundalk, they lost a couple of games towards the end of the season, but in reality they only lost 2 games when the league title was alive. Back-to-back games against Sligo and St Pat's in around April time. Chris Shields didn't play in those games, and in fact he was brought back in from injury for the game after, and that's sort of off the bench, and that started a winning run which basically took them to the league. He's their defensive midfielder. He covers all the ground. He is the player who probably allows other players to go and play a bit more. Full backs can go and bomb forward because they know Shields will cover. And you talk about Jack Byrne, who's obviously such an integral part of the Shamrock Rovers plan. In fact, the whole Rovers team is stacked towards creative midfield talent. Chris Shields, it would be that midfield enforcer who can dominate that area, and Dundalk don't have a natural replacement for him. They can either play a defender, Sean Hoare in there, which is, it's a defender playing in midfield. He's played there before and done fine, but I think he'd probably admit himself he's not Chris Shields in terms of his comfort in that area. And the alternative is to play a more ball-playing player in a deeper role, which means defensively you're not going to be as strong as you would be with Chris Shields there, but actually as a spectacle it means that you've got 2 sides who really want to play, and it would sort of it could make it very open as a game, and you nearly have to try and outscore them.
I think to just jump in with a quick goal update. West Ham Newcastle, there has been another goal. West Ham against Newcastle, the London Stadium. Guy Swindles.
West Ham 0, Newcastle 3. John Joe Shelvey curling in a free kick from fully 30 yards. You have to say that Roberto in the West Ham goal should have done better. It was a fine strike by Shelvey, but from that distance, well, it looked easier if the keeper could actually save it. He didn't, and it's West Ham 0, Newcastle 3.
Johnny, I cut across you there. What were you about to say?
That's perfectly all right. That's a pretty mad result, the West Ham for one thing. But yeah, the Chris Shields thing. I was talking to him during the week, and he said the house has been like a funeral. Like, it's just, I'm so gutted over this, and he wasn't playing the blame game, and then but he was saying it is very, very hard to deal with, and because it was so needless that, I don't know, Vinnie Perth wouldn't really talk about it. He said we'll talk about it after the game, but for a dead rubber game in Cork for this to happen. Interestingly, Patrick Hooban was on a yellow card against St Patrick's in a dead rubber game last Friday, and he was really pretty close to getting another yellow, but they left him on because I think they wanted him to score, and he sort of did.
He was very close to getting top scorer as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. Which we may have mentioned later on. I jest because Dan was quite hurt by Hooban not getting
financial
the top
relations.
score.
I'm not actually wearing any trousers on this table.
The point I'm making anyway, it makes it actually the pre-match chat a lot more interesting, because if you knew what both teams would be for sure, I think it's not quite as interesting. So Dundalk's management team know that they will be criticised if they make a decision to play Hoare in the Chris Shields holding role, which Stephen O'Donnell would be perfectly equipped for if he was still playing. If Hoare plays there and doesn't have a great game, or they play Benson and somebody else, they're going to be criticised for that. But I think Stephen Bradley has a bigger choice to make than Vinnie Perth. Dan's piece today, where he previews the Cup final, he's on about Vinnie potentially being given the resources to scout for really good players outside of Ireland in the off-season. So, a lot of the other 18 managers in the league will be kind of they'll be almost laughing to suggest that there are selection headaches for Dundalk and Shamrock Rovers, who are, in terms of resources, are so far ahead of everyone. But Stephen Bradley, I was at the Rovers Cork game Friday of last week, and Neil Treacy, who was starting for Ireland's under-21s until he got injured early in the campaign, he came on at half-time because Sean Cavan was injured.
There's another story. Neil Treacy, talk about stories. 600 points in his leaving cert. He's studying biomedical science in UCD, basically like a genius who has turned down offers to go away because he wants to finish. Now, he's playing full-time at Rovers and is trying to study for his degree around full-time training for biomedical science. It's not exactly arts and UCD, you know what I mean? And I did arts and UCD, so I know how you can make that. I know how you can do it without going to lectures.
So Neil Treacy and Robbie
super talented player,
who's going to have a key role and who's just clicking back into form after an injury interrupted season. Both got 600 points and they're leaving, which shouldn't be knocked. But anyway, so Neil Treacy was unbelievably good in that second half. He tore the Cork City fullback to shreds, and the Cork City fullback was left one-on-one, which is a horrible position for him to be in because Neil Treacy is that good. Shamrock Rovers do not have a lot of pace in their team. Jack Byrne isn't that quick. Graham Burke isn't that quick. None of their midfielders is especially quick. The only proper pace they have is Aaron Green. So if they want to play Treacy, that's giving them a totally different aspect in terms of pace. On the break, and you remember, this is on the break against the Dundalk team that does not have Chris Shields to break play up. So Stephen Bradley has a choice to make. Does he stick with the 3-5-2 and have just Sean Cavan on the left and a very narrow team? And just remember, probably Ronan Finn on the right, who would have to mark Michael Duffy, which to me would be a bit of a mismatch. Or does he play 4-5-1 and play two full-backs with the width of Treacy and then maybe somebody else on the right, possibly Finn?
He might play 4-5-1 without playing Treacy.
He might also do that, but I would 100% be starting Treacy. And his other debate is Gary O'Neill or Greg Bulger. Greg Bulger would be considered one of the best midfielders in the league. I don't think he's actually going to start. I think he'll go with Gary O'Neill. So there are a lot of fascinating subplots, but if you're not doing anything tomorrow and you're even vaguely interested in football and you're from Dublin, I would implore you to go along because you won't be disappointed.
Damien, you hinted there, obviously, you would prefer Shamrock Rovers to win tomorrow afternoon. Are you confident they will win tomorrow afternoon?
I think it's going to be a good battle of who can implement their style better. But I think with Chris Shields, one thing I would say to Dundalk is they're better equipped if they don't have the ball. If Chris Shields is in the team, they can actually dig in and be really, really solid, and they can get narrow and they can get deep and they can hit you on the counter attack because they do have some serious legs in their team. But I think Shields missing for them. If they're giving up 60, 65, 70% possession, you can actually hurt Dundalk because Shields not only is a very, very good footballer, a great range of passing, but he's a big, big man as well. And he's a big, big presence for them in the middle of the park, nice and strong, and he's good on defending set plays as well. So I think he's a big miss for them. As Johnny said there, Rovers don't have a lot of pace in their team. Their kind of only weapon is possession and rotation and just keep the ball moving and kind of wear you down a little bit. So it's going to be an interesting little clash there, that whoever can get their style and implement it. Another interesting part is, I suppose, Dundalk are still hungry. They want to do the treble. So I think a motivated Dundalk would be too much for Rovers, if I'm being honest with you.
Damien said there that he's probably just forgetting one aspect of Rovers' play, set pieces, because Jack Byrne, and I mean this in the bottom of my heart, I think he's one of the best dead ball players I've ever seen on a football pitch. His delivery is so good, and that might sound ridiculous, but Jack Byrne's delivery is flawless. He's absolutely on the money. The amount of goals he set up this season, and Rovers have a really, really strong threat from set pieces. But apart from that, Dundalk have, down the years, how many goals have they gotten from set pieces?
Against Rovers.
And against Rovers. So I think I don't want to set piece to decide the game, but that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, against Rovers, the Rovers defending a set pieces and crosses in the last game against Dundalk was terrible. And that's, Dundalk last year, Sean Hoare, they have that ability to strike. It was two headers. I know McElhenney was from across, but for all we talk about the footballing game that it might be, it's very likely those margins will probably decide it.
One other thing, and it might sound a bit daft, but I think some people in Dundalk will have a slight meh aspect to this if they lose this game in terms of the season, because I think Europe was a little bit disappointing for Dundalk. They didn't really perform to their levels they're capable of.
Even if it's a treble?
Sorry,
Or
no,
if
if
they
they
lose,
lose.
sorry,
So as much as they won the league, familiarity breeds kind of boredom to an extent that they did win the league again, but they're used to winning the league and they weren't really challenged, and that's no disrespect to Dundalk, but to my mind Dundalk are better than they've shown this season. They've kind of played within themselves at times. Their midfield was decimated through injury. Patrick Hooban didn't score the goals he's been scoring. On the flip side, if Shamrock Rovers lose tomorrow, granted they did well in Europe, like they got through a round as Dundalk, but they kind of punched a little bit above maybe their weight.
Well, I don't know.
They didn't win. They haven't won anything.
Well,
and they haven't won the cup since '87, and they finished how many points behind Dundalk?
I mean, Dundalk did go out to Slovan Bratislava, who you did describe as a bunch of cowboys, and they've since gone on to knock out PAOK, beat Besiktas at home, and turn out to be actually a pretty good side.
So the Slovan Bratislava manager basically admitted to the Dundalk management team that he was absolutely bricking it if Patrick Hooban had scored the penalty. They were there for the taking, to my mind.
I'm just saying that it puts a different gloss on their year, that actually they didn't go out to.
Even against Riga, they were.
They didn't go out to sort of a mediocre team.
How do you think Dundalk form in Europe then?
I think they can do better, but I think actually the Bratislava game at home they played pretty well, and they actually carried that form into the league season after that. I think they didn't play to the levels they could have, but I think more so Europe probably identified weaknesses they have rather than them playing poorly in Europe. To be honest, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And you know, like Dundalk, I see them. They're so far ahead of everyone else in the League of Ireland right now, and obviously their main goal right now is or for next season will be Europe. So it means they're going to have to go out and spend an awful lot of money. I mean, the League of Ireland then they're going to win it by 20, 25 points comfortably. If they're getting stronger for Europe, which is obviously way ahead. I mean, they're just going to be light years ahead of everyone else.
I got to disagree there. I don't think Shamrock Rovers are actually favourites for the game tomorrow at the moment. So
are we looking at the top two for the next few years?
It's very hard to see anyone else.
I think so, but I mean, the thing is, like, again, not to go back to Jack Byrne, but I mean, the thing, like, Rovers are vulnerable to losing Jack Byrne, which could be absolutely huge.
Yeah.
You know, whereas I don't think Dundalk are vulnerable to losing any of their leading players, in the sense that. And some of them possibly, you know,
some of them have just recently come back.
Yeah, and some of them maybe the likes of Sean Gannon. I would have thought he should have got opportunities over the years, and maybe hasn't. But all their leading lights are under contract as such. They have a couple to tie down Benson and stuff, but they have all the ingredients there to win the league next year. And as Damien said, my understanding would be that they are going to try and look to recruit a slightly better class of player from outside the league. Now, you have to get them, you have to do your due diligence on them, and some of them may not settle, but they are in a position, and that's why, in a way, I think the neutral, for all that maybe neutrals might love Shamrock Rovers too much around the league, you know, the neutral probably does want maybe Rovers to a degree
you want a rivalry,
to win something, to sort of give them some kind of psychological edge. And I mean, Cork won the cup in 2016, and that propelled them into a double the next year. And Rovers do have Dermot Desmond's support coming in, and I'd imagine that Rovers are probably going to recruit heavily over the winter. Now, no one else has a hope of getting near them at all, and that's the problem. And
if you're recruiting players from, if you're going to be like Dundalk now, and you say, look, we need to go to the UK or we need to go to Europe to recruit players, like, they can offer Champions League football. I mean, the only downside to signing for Dundalk is if you brought a player to Oriel Park. You know, I mean, that's probably like the only thing.
Is this where we play? No. This is the training ground.
Yeah. You know, so like, I mean, they can offer that, and they can obviously pay the wages as well. Rovers, obviously with Dermot Desmond coming, will probably have to pay the wages as well. But like, yeah, Europa League football is great, but you know, you're asking a fella to come over. Champions League football is going to be a big draw for him.
Definitely.
Yeah. The other thing is though, sorry, John, but like those factors that you mentioned, and this is the broader model. You can't, like, this is in the short term. The Dock are fine, but obviously because the place isn't that, you know, the ground isn't very attractive, and you have to sort out where people are going to live and so on. They probably have to pay over the odds to get those lads to commit, maybe relative to other options they might have. And like, you know, you want to be sure that the model you're on is secure. And that's the gamble that you face, that it can all end very quickly if you're not doing your business properly. But like, they don't have to keep winning the league if they're going to spend that way, they simply have to win the league, because there's 800 grand for winning the league relative to 240 grand for being in the Europa League. So it's like $500,000 difference. They have to keep winning the league to actually cope with that.
The only potential flying the ointment next season, and I'm not for a minute saying they're going to win the league or that, but Stephen O'Donnell
You're going to say St. Pat's, aren't you?
just one, if Stephen O'Donnell has come in and the purge of the squad that he's done this week, like, is something out of Soviet Russia, it's absolutely ruthless for a manager who's literally in the job.
It's not actually similar to what happened in Soviet Russia. All the St Patrick's Elect players are fine. They haven't gone
been
missing.
Airbrushed out of photos.
They do actually. They're still with us.
As far as I know, 7 or 8 players. Like, these are proper players now. Stephen also obviously has a very good relationship with Dundalk, and Dundalk's squad is so big. I can't but think some of their players that aren't getting a regular game will want to go. And if Garrett Kelleher really puts money into St. Pat's, and I mean proper money, which I'm not saying, I don't know if he is or not, but Pat's will be very interesting next season.
Can't catch anyone in a year, John. You have to hope.
So Pat's will be interesting, and they might somewhat challenge for second next season, something like that. But as you said, Neil, we definitely need a title race. Like, I found the league fairly boring this year. As much as, you know, I've been mocked for saying Rovers are going to win it, the league was actually over a long way out, and Rovers were quite a bit off in terms of the table.
Right, have to take a quick ad break. Before that, though, there is a text in. Congratulations to Dan and the Indo on the Jack Byrne feature. Great piece and promo for tomorrow's final. It's signed Johnny W.
It's not us.
You didn't send that in, Johnny, no?
No chance.
I thought that was my other phone.
No, it was a compliment.
No. There are a lot of. I mean, it could be Johnny Ward from Fair City. You know, could be
Johnny Ward.
Could be Johnny Walsh. Could be Johnny, Walker. The whiskey, could be out. There's a
big Ireland fans, Johnny.
I think go to the ads before we go through any other W surnames we can think of.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
It hasn't gone away, you know. It's taken me longer to get in and get home than it was 10 years ago.
It goes from 45 minutes to 2 hours when schools are back.
Ireland's commuter hell, it's back. All next week, from News Talk Breakfast right through to the Hard Shoulder, we'll explore the issues and solutions facing you as you travel on the roads, rail and lanes each day.
We also want to hear your commuting stories. Email commuter@newstalk.com
or tweet us using the hashtag CommuterHellNT.
Ireland's commuter hell, all next week on News Talk.
Exciting afternoons with Harvey Norman. Bring the cinema home with an ultra-high-definition smart TV and surround sound from Harvey Norman. The cinema experience with no queues and no trailers.
Go, Harvey, go! This is the sound of a Volkswagen master technician servicing your Volkswagen using their expertise, specialist tools, and Volkswagen genuine parts. It all clicks perfectly together, making sure your Volkswagen stays a Volkswagen. Book a classic service from €169, including 1 year complimentary roadside assistance at volkswagenservice.ie, and make sure it stays a Volkswagen. Terms and conditions apply.
You're in for a treat this week at Dunnes Stores with mix and match on Cadbury, Mars and Nestle medium selection boxes, any 6 for €10. Plus get €10 off when you buy any 6 bottles of wine. And save even more with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. See online for terms and conditions. Minimum spend required. Please drink responsibly.
Some products in the shops will do anything to convince you they're Irish. But unless they carry the Love Irish Food logo, you can't be sure. The jig is up, lads.
Much of the food that we buy in the supermarket is imported, so consider what you're buying before you buy it. When shopping, look for the Love Irish Food logo. Love Irish Food, supporting local business, jobs and communities.
Take a leisurely stroll down Salt Hill Promenade and check out Sea Point Leisure, Galway's largest indoor family entertainment centre. Our amusement arcade is packed with games to keep the family entertained. And for grown-ups, Sea Point Leisure Casino has all the latest games, straight from Vegas. Oh, and don't forget Big Bingo, every Thursday to Monday. 10k jackpot available nightly. Sea Point Leisure. Find us on Facebook and near the roundabout on Salt Hill Promenade. Casino and bingo over 18s only. Visit gambleaware.ie.
Barefoot Pilgrimage, the compelling and honest memoir from legendary musician Andrea Corr.
My book is a personal reflection on my life as I've lived it so far. A story I felt compelled to write following loss and grief. From my childhood days in Dundalk to an unlikely worldwide journey with my brother and sisters. Barefoot Pilgrimage is my love song to family, to creativity. It's a story of deep gratitude and hope.
Barefoot Pilgrimage by Andrea Corr is out now at all good bookshops.
FAI
FAI Cup Finals Day. 4 teams, 2 games, 1 epic day. Sunday, November 3rd at the Aviva. Watch Peamount United take on Wexford Youth in the Soho Hotel's FAI Women's Senior Cup Final. Kick-off at 12:05 p.m. Then at 3:40, watch Dundalk play Shamrock Rovers in the Extra.ie FAI Men's Senior Cup Final. FAI Cup Finals Day, Aviva Stadium, November 3rd. Tickets on sale now at fai.ie/tickets. Booking fee applies.
As a business owner, Brexit could affect you in any number of ways. At AIB, we have an extended Brexit support line to help you in this time of uncertainty. Whether you need help preparing for Brexit or have a concern, call 0818 300 081. Lines are open 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday, or visit aib.ie/Brexit. AIB, we back brave. Allied Irish Banks plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Together with every electric vehicle owner, ESB is powering Ireland towards a cleaner, brighter future. To ensure we're ready to support more electric vehicles on our roads, we're investing in and upgrading the ESB public charging network across Ireland. As part of this process, we're introducing pricing for our public fast chargers from November 18th. To sign up for an introductory offer before November 30th, visit esb.ie/ecars.
University is more than just about learning. It's about exploring life's possibilities. Come along to UCD Open Day and find out what the future might hold for you. Meet our expert lecturers, explore our campus and all it has to offer, and see how Ireland's #1 university for graduate employability can help you think bigger, go further, learn more. UCD Open Day, Saturday, November 9th. Register at ucd.ie/Open Day. UCD, think bigger.
Out this week at Golden Discs, travelling through the latest instalment of Bob Dylan's bootleg series featuring Johnny Cash. And from out of nowhere, the new album from Jeff Lynne's ELO. New albums from Bob Dylan and ELO at Golden Discs and goldendiscs.ie.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
All right, you're very welcome back. Neil Treacy here with you for another half an hour, at least until 5 o'clock. I'm alongside Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward and Damien Delaney on Skype as well. We have had a couple of goals around the Premier League. We haven't had one, though, at Villa Park, where Aston Villa are still holding out against Liverpool. With the latest from that game, it's Tom Gale.
Villa 1, Liverpool 0, and it's the league leaders who continue to dominate possession and the majority of the opportunities, the best of which fall into Sadio Mane at the back post, but Tom Heaton spread himself like a cat to prevent drawing the level. But Jurgen Klopp, he's played his card, 2 attacking substitutions, Divock Origi and Alex Alexander-Chamberlain on for Mohamed Salah and Gigi Wijnaldum. It's Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 0.
Horahan's just come on as well, so it'll be interesting to see the last 20 minutes. This is a good kind of example of where Conor Horahan is, because Villa are obviously backs to the wall here, and they need a player like him. He's come on with 20 minutes to go, and his advice must be get on the ball, and that's what I don't think we've seen enough for Ireland.
We have had a goal at the Amex Stadium. It was the only scoreless game so far, as Liverpool have a big chance.
That is an absolute sitter from Lallana. Oh, no. It's going to be a big swing here. Man City are going to score, and obviously
it's a very emotional swing. An emotional response from John Derham.
Look at this, Dan. Dan McDonnell would have put this away right or left
He's
foot.
invested in this game in some way, I suggest.
We have had a goal at our only scoreless game so far. Brighton and Norwich watching that one at the Amex Stadium is Richard Newman.
It's Brighton 1, Norwich 0, and it had been coming. It's Leandro Trossard who has the goal on as a substitute. He tapped in at the near post, converting across from the right from Martin Montoya. He made the difference off the bench last weekend against Everton, and he's done it again. Brighton 1, Norwich 0.
And with Liverpool trailing against Aston Villa, we can confirm now there is a goal at the Etihad Stadium. Man City had been behind against Southampton. To tell us if they still are, it's Darren Stanage.
Manchester City 1, Southampton 1. City with their breakthrough goal on 71 minutes. It was their first shot on target as well. Kevin De Bruyne played Kyle Walker in down the right. He drilled the cross in from the byline, and Sergio Aguero with an instinctive finish through the legs of Alex McCarthy. Nothing he could do about that. Before that, Aguero had come closest. He'd come closest with a header that went just over the bar from a left-hand side cross. Will City go on and win it now? It's City 1, Southampton 1.
Damian Delaney, it's not often we get all the big guys on a Saturday afternoon, and Liverpool and Man City, they're keeping us entertained anyway. This is a potentially huge 20 minutes for both teams this season.
Yeah, absolutely massive. I think both will be really, really surprised when they get back in the changing rooms and quickly look at their phones and they see the result if they stay as they are. I still fancy Man City to go on and win it though, and I think Liverpool will get something out of Aston Villa as well. But even there now, Wolves have equalised against Arsenal, so it's just a great day, to be honest with you. Great day for football.
Damien's even doing score updates here as well.
Yeah, you've beaten us to that one. I'll just check and see. I'm waiting for that update to come into us. We'll have it for you as soon as we can.
Cork's ahead of Dublin again. It's very typical.
We have Damien. We have also been discussing this book that you're going to bring out, and the use of double D is really intriguing us. So just think about that anyway.
We can go to that Arsenal Wolves goal. He's just going to go there right now.
He got nothing.
Andrew Shield.
Arsenal 1, Wolves 1. A case of a sleeping defence, really, as a throw-in on the right was taken quickly. Moutinho hooked in a right foot cross to the far post, looping to the head of Jimenez, who powerfully headed home past Leno in the Arsenal goal. It's Arsenal 1, Wolves 1.
To follow up on our text before the break, the congratulations to Dan and the Indo on the Jack Byrne feature. Great piece and promo for tomorrow's final from Johnny W. We've had confirmation it wasn't Johnny Ward. We've had another text in. No, Johnny Waddell here. So
cousin of Sid Waddell, maybe?
Possibly.
The late Sid Waddell.
Big fan of your work, though.
Oh, that's good.
You do. If you want to support journalism, though, buy the paper, and honestly, because it's worth it for that loan. It's a great piece, and if people aren't apt to actually buy the paper and read it, we're going to be in for basically a bleak future for journalism.
Absolutely. All joking aside, it really is a really, really good piece. Really, really enjoyable as well, and his mother Jackie, the absolute star of the show.
I presume Jackie's in the Clonliffe house, wedded to the paper and showing everyone who comes in the star that she is today.
So 14 minutes left at Villa Park, and Liverpool still beating down the door against Aston Villa, but it is still 1-0. Every time I look up at the screen, it seems like Liverpool are having a chance, and that one a few minutes ago that Johnny erupted over.
Johnny got very invested in that. I'm beginning to worry about Johnny here, but
emphasis on the word invested.
I don't have a bet in the game.
That's okay, fair enough. They had a handball shot a minute ago as well, Liverpool, but obviously with the VAR we know that wasn't the case. So yeah, it's sort of getting towards that sort of desperation territory. I sort of would agree with Damien. I fancied them to score, but yeah, you think City should be able to get ahead from where they are.
City win and Liverpool lose, you'd have to think this is a fairly seminal day in the title race, I think.
Would you declare it as game over, John?
It's definitely over.
It's over.
I think City would be strong favourites if they... Oh, here's a chance.
Aston Villa on the break, moving into the box. Oh, he's dragged it back. Conor Horan.
That's so unlucky. That is so unlucky.
And it's been cleared away.
I think he's unlucky there, to be fair.
There was no Liverpool player or no Villa player in there to finish, but lovely counter-attack from Aston Villa, and that would have, you'd think, surely have been it. It would have been 2-0, but Liverpool moving back up the field. They still lead 1-0. On Conor Horan, though, just when you mentioned he came on a few minutes ago, we were kind of talking during the ad break. Hasn't been a huge amount of Irish players playing today. Like we've had the usual lads at Sheffield United, John Egan, Enda Stevens and David McGoldrick, Matt Doherty for Wolves, but no Shane Duffy again.
Well, Connolly's playing for Brighton, though.
Aaron Connolly is
playing, though. That's a sort of it's sort of a...
Southampton, just Shane Long on the bench.
It's a standard Saturday, though. I mean, I think it's actually... We've had worse ones. You know what I mean? Like, there is actually contenders for the music. You know, we've had the odd Saturday where there's a handful. No, it's sort of where we're at. I mean, Heron has got his place back on the side, has obviously lost it again. I mean, Connolly's forced his way through. Duffy's situation is a concern. I know they said that it was precautionary with the calf, that he wasn't involved with the squad. Actually, sorry, Duffy came on, before half-time here. So, as you mentioned, it's actually probably good news that he's involved and Webster's got an injury. So I think actually Mick McCarthy today would be more encouraged rather than sort of downbeat. Because you get to the point where he just wants his players to be fit as much as anything. As they said, the lights are going here. Don't know what the hell's happening.
Speaking of encouragement.
Interesting.
But no, he named the squad during the week. Obviously, he didn't really name the squad. I mean, everyone was... I'm surprised Damien wasn't in it. It was a big, long list of names. But the real squad announcement will come across email. But actually, I think in terms of the players that he wants to play in the Denmark match, realistically, As I said, most of them are getting enough minutes. Like Duffy would have been the main one, and Randolph getting back. I mean, they are the two main talking
And
points.
it does look like Randolph, they were feeling good on Randolph getting back.
It seems, I'd imagine like you would need to
more
be very
confident than we were this time last week.
Yeah, I think you need it to be very bad. I don't know, it's a muscle injury, so I mean, you don't want to push it too early. But I think I'd imagine very much that game is in his mind, and it does help that he does have Robbie Keane as the assistant manager at Middlesbrough, so he might be putting too much of a squeeze on Jonathan Woodgate to use him too early if a push comes to shove, you know.
Ronan Curtis is obviously playing today. Ryan Manning's playing, and I have to say I would love to see the Millwall. I'd love to see Millwall play with Sean Williams and Malumbi in midfield together. I haven't seen them at all. I'd love to see. I think for Malumbi, Dan, I think. To play beside Sean Williams must be a great introduction.
Well, I mean, but it's Malumbi's down the line, though. I mean, it's not really in the context of the Denmark game.
Yeah, obviously, but I think
even with any of those players, even Manning isn't going to be involved. Manning might get a chance to play in a New Zealand friendly.
Longer term, I think Manning could definitely have a chance. I think Malumbi will be hopefully a key player for Kenny when
is Manning going to be in the final cut?
I'd say there's a. I mean,
it would be a bit cruel if he was the headline name on the FAI press release if he was to not be there.
That's it. Like, it's actually responding to media speculation built up by the FAI website. Like, in fact, we the first time we found out that Manning was going to be in the Ireland squad was the FAI website doing a news story to suggest that McCarthy is having a look at Troy Parrott and Ryan Manning. So maybe this is part of the old FAI media channel trying to control the news. They're going to break stories now. It's not really breaking the story, exclusive breaking when your own manager is going to a game. It's not necessarily a scoop. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's actually a person in our job is doing something today and we're presenting it as news. But yeah, the fact that they've put it out there that Manning is going to, that he was in the shake-up for an involvement, it would be a bit of a kick in the stones if all of a sudden he's pulled back out of it. So I imagine the New Zealand game, but I mean, Stevens is still a bit ahead of him. And in fact, it depends what kind of style a manager wants to play in. Manning wouldn't be known as a quick player by any stretch.
He's not.
Stevens, as a rating left-sided, left-back, wing-back, is probably the guy in the shirt for a couple of years. But you never know. But I think New Zealand is where Manning's going to play, not Denmark.
Yeah, okay. Time for a quick break. Those Premier League games heading into the early stages of the last 10 minutes or so. Still Newcastle United 3, West Ham 1, Sheffield United 3, Burnley 0. Man City and Southampton 1-1. Liverpool 1-0 behind against Aston Villa. Arsenal and Wolves are drawing 1-1, and it's Brighton 1, Norwich 0. We'll be back for the final 15 minutes of the show after the break.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Listen back to your favourite News Talk shows at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app.
At Power City, you can recycle your old electrical appliances free. To find out more, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
This is the sound of a Volkswagen master technician servicing your Volkswagen using their expertise, specialist tools, and Volkswagen genuine parts. It all clicks perfectly together, making sure your Volkswagen stays a Volkswagen. Book a classic service from €169, including 1 year complimentary roadside assistance at volkswagenservice.ie, and make sure it stays a Volkswagen. Terms and conditions apply.
Ever wondered what makes our Flahavans Progress Oatlets taste so creamy? Well, not everybody has the opportunity to find out on our Flahavans tour. So, I'm going on the road to answer your questions. And today, I'm out with the Kilmacthomas Marching Band, who ask, is it the locally sourced oats or the unique steaming process? A great question. I'll tell you this, what the steaming does is... So, the answer is... Clear?
Flahavans, not your run-of-the-mill oats.
We began our search for Ireland's greatest businesswomen some months ago, and now we've got our shortlist. The Image Businesswoman of the Year award stretches across 9 categories, plus the overall Image Businesswoman of the Year. Join 1,000 of Ireland's key influencers on Monday, November the 25th at the Clayton Hotel, Burlington Road, as we announce the winners. The evening will include plenty of treats and surprises for all, as well as the great reveal. The Image Businesswoman of the Year awards, sponsored by Liffey Valley, BMW, Samsung, Number 7, Kuehne Nagel, and Queen's University. Details on image.ie.
Proudly supported by News Talk.
Introducing Air TV and Apple TV. Enjoy all the live TV action and live sport you love with the best of on-demand programs and Apple TV Plus original shows and movies. Welcome to broadband and TV all in one place for just $49.99 a month. Welcome to a world of infinite entertainment. Air. Let's make possible. New customers only. 12-month contract, $79.99 a month after 6 months. Subject to availability. Bundle activation fee may apply. For full details and terms, see air.ie.
As a business owner, Brexit could affect you in any number of ways. At AIB, we have an extended Brexit support line to help you in this time of uncertainty. Whether you need help preparing for Brexit or have a concern, call 0818 300 081. Lines are open 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday, or visit aib.ie/Brexit. AIB, we back brave. Allied Irish Banks plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Are you concerned about diabetes? For the first time ever, Ireland's largest diabetes health and wellbeing event is coming to the Limerick Strand Hotel on Sunday, November 10th from 12 to 5 p.m. It's free and features product stands, the latest in technologies, healthy living, free testing, a range of workshops and much, much more. Want to come along to this free event? For more information, visit diabetes.ie or call 01 842 8118.
I'm Keith Sinnott, orthopaedic consultant. Bowel and bladder control, hand function, so feeding yourself, dangerous pressure sores. These, along with paralysis, are some of the consequences you don't think of when you think of spinal injuries. And a spinal injury is something you don't think of when you give a child a quad bike or scrambler. Quads and scramblers are heavy, dangerous pieces of machinery that can cause life-changing injuries and deaths. They aren't toys. So please, give a different, safer gift this Christmas. From the Road Safety Authority and An Garda Síochána.
Together with every electric vehicle owner, ESB is powering Ireland towards a cleaner, brighter future. To ensure we're ready to support more electric vehicles on our roads, we're investing in and upgrading the ESB public charging network across Ireland. As part of this process, we're introducing pricing for our public fast chargers from November 18th. To sign up for an introductory offer before November 30th, visit esb.ie/ecars.
What's this? A superglue accident? His hands are completely stuck to his face.
I wish it were that simple, Doctor, but he's totally gobsmacked. Look, when you pull his hands away, they slap right back into his face.
Don't tell me. He was at Specsavers trying those new hidden hearing aids to connect to your phone.
That's right.
That's the 50th case this week. There's a woman in there who can't get her eyebrows down.
At Specsavers, we're putting the awe into audiology with new ReSound Wireless Lynx Quattro hearing aids. Smartphone required. Ask in store for details.
Hurry! Morgantown's dining tables and chair sale is in full swing. All dining tables and chairs reduced. No exceptions. See Facebook for daily offers. Morgantown's tables and chairs sale now on.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
Burns plays it inside to Vardy. Vardy shoots and Vardy scores at the near post, and that was a fantastic goal by Leicester City. Brilliant stuff by Harvey Barnes. A first-time pass just dinked into around the 6-yard box, and Jamie Vardy was there just to sweep it in at the near post. And Leicester City are now leading by 2-0. We've just had over 53 minutes on the clock, and it looks like the Foxes are heading for third position in the Premier League table after 7 matches. It's Leicester City 2, Newcastle United 0. Ricardo coming in the edge of the box, plays out right. The ball's crossed in by Barnes, and it comes off the goalkeeper, off the post, and into the goal. 57 minutes on the clock. Leicester City 3, Newcastle United 0. And this is turning into a disastrous afternoon for the Magpies, who are being well and truly thrashed by Leicester City. Chilwell on the left wing, he comes into the Newcastle half, he then finds Albrighton further up the pitch, he's trying to get past Kraft, he's on the corner of the box, he crosses the far post, Jamie Vardy with the header, Jamie Vardy with the goal after 64 minutes, and Leicester City are going to town here at the King Power Stadium. There's only 63 minutes on the clock, and it's Leicester City 4, Newcastle United 0.
Yes, you're very welcome back. That's just a preview for tomorrow's game. Leicester City away to Crystal Palace, the first of our 2 matches. We also have Spurs against Everton, or Everton against Spurs, I should say. That is the 4:30 game. Dave McIntyre and David Myler are on commentary. We have had a few pretty big goals this afternoon. First, we are going to go to the Etihad Stadium, where it had been Man City 1, Southampton 1. Who's got this goal? Darren Stanage.
Southampton won, the unlikely source of Kyle Walker putting Manchester City in front with just 3 minutes to go. A cross came in from the left-hand side. McCarthy came to punch it out and then sliding home as he attempted to make contact with the ball. Kyle Walker was there, smashed it into the net. City 2, Southampton 1.
And no sooner had that gone in than over at Villa Park.
Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 1. So the league leaders have their equaliser. It was substitute Naby Keita swung the cross in at the back post. Full-back Andy Robertson there to knock it in to head home. No celebrations. He raced straight back to the halfway line. Liverpool think they can still win this. There's only a few minutes left of normal time. Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 1.
And just to make the day even better, what a few minutes it's been. We're going to the Amex Stadium. Brighton against Norwich. Richard Newman.
Brighton and Hove Albion 2, Norwich City 0. It's the substitute Shane Duffy who has doubled the lead for Brighton. It's actually one sub to another. Leandro Trossard with a free kick on the left. He swung it in. Duffy made a really decent run and slid in to put the ball past Tim Krul, his former teammate here at Brighton, to make it 2-0. And Brighton on their way to 3 successive home wins, you think. It's Brighton 2, Norwich 0.
5 minutes at a time in Villa Park, which is going to be it's going to be
a long 5 minutes for Villa.
Just to remind people as well, you know obviously what you have to do when you heard that music. Text us in 53106, goal scorer's name and your own name, and we will announce the winner before the end of the show.
Duffy, having a big year for goal. This is becoming a bit of a problem. Like
Selma and Nathan are getting in a lot of trouble.
Someone's out the gap by Christmas. Yeah, definitely. Like
we're in serious trouble.
Duffy scored.
I mean, if someone is out the gap by Christmas, do you think it's going to be me or Sports Broadcaster of the Year?
Yeah, well, listen, you know.
We know who it's going to be. Like,
just get working on your CV. But Damian Delaney, in fairness, has called the situation. He did
I was just thinking that. Yeah,
so, maybe it's not that original to suggest that Man City and Liverpool will score, but still, he has called this situation.
I think Liverpool might get a winner as well. You know.
Horan's
fancy that the kitchen sink is coming out, and it's going to be hard for them to hold out.
Horan's been good since he came on.
You might just forget that the Horan chance.
I don't think he did an awful lot wrong. He could have dinked it.
He could have dinked it over the keeper. Maybe he tried to square it.
We were just talking about the cup final during the break there, and we're looking at first goal scorer betting. And Duffy's goal there just reminded me. I know Paddy Power sponsors this show, but it's no harm to look at the first scorer betting tomorrow, because both of us were quite taken by a couple of the defenders at really big prices to score a la Duffy to win the cup final, to get a first goal tomorrow. Big prices if you wanted an interest.
We have had a goal as well at the London Stadium. West Ham against Newcastle. Guy Swindles.
West Ham 2, Newcastle 3. In the final minute of normal time, West Ham have given themselves an outside chance of grabbing something from this match. Fine finish from Robert Snodgrass, volleying home left-footed from the edge of the area, giving the keeper absolutely no chance. West Ham 2, Newcastle 3.
Aston Villa absolutely desperate defending at the moment.
Tackles
clinging
on.
This is brilliant. I love this sort of stuff.
Bodies everywhere. At the start of Saving Private Ryan.
Who takes the free kick here now?
The ref gave a good advantage there as well, because they had a chance to sort of he let the move see itself out, and then the fella closed it down, but they had to go back.
If this were Danny Mandrew now, you'd be fancying him to score, but it's literally that position just outside the box, slightly to the right of goal as the keeper is looking at it, about 23 yards out. Massive chance.
Trent Alexander-Arnold was involved in the incident. He certainly looks like he's going to be having a pop, because there's a few players that are whispering in his ear.
Van Dijk is talking to him. He's gone into the wall. They did change the ruling this year, didn't they, with regard to forward players in the wall, as far as I know. But it's
Robertson is there. Yeah, it's one of those ones where the two, do you go with the left footer? So yeah, it's sort of pretty tense now. But
I think Van Dijk's going to have a go at this.
Van Dijk?
Van Dijk. Van Dijk's actually gone into the wall. But I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to have a go.
While we're waiting for this free kick to be taken, I'll just say congratulations to Jerry Ellis, who was the first in to say that Shane Duffy scored that goal for Brighton. So congratulations, Jerry. We'll have a little prize for you, and when we figure out what that prize is, we'll send it out to you.
It's a Neil swipe card for the building.
Well, as we were pointing out last time around, we've got a couple of IMRO awards we can give out.
Here we go. This is anxious now. Anxious way for Liverpool fans.
There's a few of them standing over us.
Here's Trent.
Trent is having
Trent Alexander-Arnold, and it's just over the bar.
Deflected over the bar, so
deflected. It's going to be a corner kick. We've had 3.5 minutes played in that. We do have a full time.
It's actually a great strike. That was a cracking strike.
While we're waiting for that, the first of the full times is in from Bramall Lane. Sheffield United against Burnley. Lee Stott.
Sheffield United 3, Burnley 0. A fully deserved win for the home side, who scored twice just before half-time to put the game out of sight. John Lundstrom netted his second of the match in that period, both of his goals finishing off good team moves. John Fleck also fired home in what was more of an individual effort. The visitors had a VAR check for a penalty when they were 1-0 down, but it was decided the ball hitting Jack O'Connell's arm wasn't worthy of a swap. Full-time, Sheffield United 3, Burnley 0.
Damien Delaney, you called it. Liverpool 2-1 in front, 94 minutes on the clock, and I think it was Sadio Mane at the near post flicking in a header, drifting off to the back, one of those lovely glancing headers in towards the back post, and it's gone absolutely mental at Villa Park. The problem is, though, I'm trying not to get too excited because you're just waiting. Is there going to be some little VAR check?
Damien?
No, I'm just saying at half-time, Johnny, it was 4-1 for Man City and Liverpool to win. But that was an interesting little one. I did have a little double check on that.
I love the way you said Johnny there rather than lads or Dan or Neil. Johnny's.
Know your audience.
Who's the degenerate of the group?
Know your audience. I'd say people who just tune in now, like they're 2-1, 2-1. It's a bit tight for the two of them today, but they both got the job done.
Yeah, and on that note, we can get the full-time report from the Etihad Stadium, Man City and Southampton. Darren Stanage.
Manchester City come from behind to beat stubborn Southampton 2-1 at the Etihad. Ward-Prowse followed up Ederson's spilling of Armstrong's shot. That was them in front at half-time. In fact, it was the 73rd minute when Sergio Aguero fired home Walker's cross with their first attempt on target. The hoist went for the winner, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne firing wide, and with relentless pressure and 2 minutes left, Kyle Walker smashed home McCarthy's punch to win it for City. City 2, Southampton 1.
Third league game in a row now without a win for Arsenal. They've drawn against Wolves at the Emirates Stadium, and watching that one is Andrew Shield.
Arsenal 1, Wolves 1. Arsenal ahead totally against the run of play midway through the first half. Aubameyang a simple side foot finish from a clever short corner. Wolves had by then made and missed a handful of chances, but they continued to trouble the home defence, and 13 minutes from time, Jimenez headed home at the far post. Moutinho's looping cross to punish a sleeping defence and give his side a deserved point. Arsenal 1, Wolves 1.
And it's also full time at the London Stadium. West Ham had mounted a bit of a comeback against Newcastle, but it's all over. Guy Swindles.
West Ham 2, Newcastle 3. Newcastle scoring more than one goal in a match for the first time this season. They were 2 up at half-time, headers from Clark and Fernandes. Further opportunities have been spurned and Shelvey had hit the bar. He then increased the lead with a fine free kick when the keeper should have done better just at the start of the second half. West Ham got a couple back through Balbuena and a fine finish from Snodgrass, but too little, too late. West Ham 2, Newcastle 3.
And it is over at Villa Park.
You got to give Liverpool a lot of credit, because I genuinely don't think they're playing that well, but they're eking out.
They know how to win.
They're eking out like they are. They do look like champions in the way that they're winning these games.
Look at the United game, didn't play well.
Yeah, they could kind of have thrown in the towel there. Even the Man United game, a 1-1 draw there is by no means a bad result. Didn't play well. They're getting late goals. You saw even in the League Cup during the week, they rallied. They have an unbelievable spirit, and I'm kind of glad, to be honest, because I think if they had lost the game Man City won, I think Man City would have a massive kind of incentive, but that's a huge win for them.
While we're waiting for that report to come in, we will get the full time from the Amex Stadium. Brighton and Norwich, Richard Newman.
Brighton and Albion 2, Norwich City 0. It's finished. 3 successive home wins for Graham Potter's side, and they're into the top half of the table, while the problems remain for Norwich, still in the relegation zone, 3 points from safety. But Brighton deserved this win. They dominated the game, and for the second week running, their attacking threat intensified when Leandro Trossard came on. The Belgian winger opened the scoring by converting a cross from the right at the near post, then provided a free kick from which Shane Duffy slid in to score. And for Norwich, they didn't create much, apart from hitting the bar early on through Marco Stiepermann. It's now 5 defeats in the last 6 games for them, but Brighton keep their momentum. It's finished Brighton 2, Norwich 0.
We don't have time to bring you a full-time report from Villa Park, unfortunately, but Liverpool
I
have
think they
won
got a good
2-1.
idea of what happened from the
Exactly,
studio in the last few
I
minutes.
think they have. Guys, before we go, one-word answers. Who's going to win tomorrow?
Talk after extra time. That's 4 words.
I've tipped the draw, tentative Shamrock Rovers, but I think it'll be close.
Someone has to win it, John. You can't go for the draw.
I've tipped the draw in terms.
Who lifts the cup?
Shamrock Rovers.
Shamrock Rovers is it? And Damien, last word to you.
Dundalk, and I'm going to say with a bit to spare as well.
Oh, Dundalk with a bit to spare. So that's the head going over the heart. Damien, thanks a million for joining us. And
Thanks.
You're going to be popular. You're going to be popular in Dundalk on Monday night.
He's put the notion in my head now, and I definitely don't work enough to not turn it down. So, Damien, we'll be chatting later on.
All right. Thanks a million, guys, for joining us. We've loads coming up tomorrow as well. We're going to have Ron Nogara in studio to look back at today's Rugby World Cup final. The Springboks winning it. South Africa record equaling third-time champions of the world. And we also have 2 Premier League games coming up at 2 o'clock. We're going to be at Sellers Park. Stephen Doyle and Clive Allen on duty for Crystal Palace against Leicester City. And then at 4:30, it's Everton against Spurs. Dave McIntyre and David Myler at Goodison Park. Until then, we'll speak to you soon.
Give him a ball and he out of grass. He'll give you a move for the